What up? Oh my god, dude. Wes Watson, whining like a bitch.
Johnny boy, you're going to jail. I don't know what to tell you.
What do you mean I'm going to jail? What is this asshole got nothing else better?
Breaking news, VG Valch is leaving the USA.
Yeah.
What a sensational title, right? It must be clickbait. No, not this time. I'm actually moving. I struggled for a while. Forgive my hair. I just came out of the shower. I struggled for a while on how to, announce this because I think that for the decline of America, right? When the jackbooted thugs break down my door and
He's wealthy, for one thing. He's a very, very rich person. And I mean, especially depending on where he thinks he's moving to, the threat of authoritarian rule is going to be higher.
I agonized for how to make this video because I didn't want to make it too early. It's just I general decline of things in this country well enough between us that battle's on the up and up right now. Chances here in the States, no hate, the battle's on the up and up right now. Up early for a flight, not the flight, leaving at the end of the month, give or take, to the Netherlands, by the way, so I can enjoy some goddamn.
Oh, he's going to regret that. The Netherlands does not have freedom of speech. They're a lot like the UK. They can lock you up for offending and insulting people, and there's a ton of fucking crazy wacko migrants who are attacking people in the street, and they're especially targeting gay and trans people. So, yeah, he's probably going to want to move back.
Urbanism before I die. Look,
yeah, he's probably also going to complain about the taxes there. Wouldn't be surprised. He's going to have to pay a way higher tax rate. And again, it all just goes into welfare and paying immigrants free money. Like, there's nothing there that I could figure would really appeal to him. Like, he's rich. Again, like, public transit there is nice, but why would he want to use public transit? You know what I mean?
I love Seattle, and Seattle's on the up and up right now, too, with, the of American decline. I wanted to make jokes about my friends of his.
Yeah, this guy's just a fucking retard. Thanks, Dodo.
Better to do, but sit there making up shit and blaming me for all his troubles in life. What an asshole.
You would be adjudicated guilty, which is a criminal conviction on your record. You would be sentenced to 21 months state prison with credit for all time served.
Well, Mage, Johnny Taylor, speaking of attacking people on the street, you might want to watch this off screen.
Issue, nigga. That's the real issue, nigga. That's the real issue, nigga. You sitting here playing with me, nigga. That's the real issue, nigga. July 21st is... Nah, don't wait. You still... you still talking? You still talking? July 21st?
What's with all these liberals wanting to leave the USA?
Okay, well, hopefully this guy gets shot and killed or something. Wow, what a piece of shit. Great.
You seem to be very pro-steroids now and suggesting almost everyone should be on TRT. Why is it you decided to wait so long to take steroids then? Was it lack of knowledge on the subject or wanting to squeeze out all your natty potential?
Kind of both. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Dodo.
Which would be followed by 7 years.
Oh, liberals wanting to leave the USA. They're stupid.
years of probation.
Watson pleaded guilty to beating a man from New Jersey inside a Miami gym in December of 2024. Police say the victim confronted Watson. The two argued, and after the victim pushed him, investigators say Watson responded by repeatedly striking him with a weightlifting belt.
Then no return, because you know, he's falling in love with them and giving him the fame he wants about me.
I don't know what to tell you. They want to know whether John had any involvement in Hakeem's decision to travel to Miami.
So it looks like.
Do you know of any TRT clinic in Canada that will accept men under 30? There's no age requirement. As long as you're over, like, the age of 18, I guess. Even then, there's hypogonadism in childhood. So, like, it's medication. It's like asking, is there an emergency room that will accept babies? Like, yeah. Thanks, dude.
This little Peggy is getting really desperate sitting in his jail cell jerking off. And not desperate for some ass, because we know he's in the Disneyland of pegging that asshole, and that ass over there, it's very plentiful. So he's not desperate for that. But you know what he is desperate for? Finding a way out of this mess and for people to blame. And you know, he thinks.
I can't fucking stand the fucking music he added. Holy shit.
Did I
Gus filming.
dinner and you say prayers before dinner, you know? We need to say a prayer for those COs, those poor COs in that jail where Peggy is. You know why? I was thinking, imagine all the shit they gotta see at night. They're going, you know, at nighttime to check the cells to see what's going on. They see this head popping up and down, shaped like a cone head with his couple hairs now because he can't shave his hair. You see him flying in the wind. And it's Peggy.
I can't stand his voice. Fucking irritating.
Seen on screen right now was uploaded to social media directly by Gazans. This is 100% authentic, first-hand footage, and all of it is from 2026. Look closely at how Gazans have supposedly survived the famine, a famine that, in reality, never actually exists. I assume you have never seen this side of Gaza anywhere else. Now wait a second, I know exactly what you might be thinking. Just because there are a few isolated videos of markets and restaurants and people who, how to put it gently, are not so thin, doesn't prove anything. It is not representative. But here is the thing, it is representative. The media is not showing you this, and I'm going to prove it to you step by step. For months, global media outlets ran identical dramatic headlines. Gaza is on the brink of mass starvation, or Israel is intentionally starving the population. The international press painted a completely apocalyptic picture of deliberate, weaponized hunger.
Gummy weighs about 15 pounds.
But as time went on, the actual data and raw documentation emerging directly from inside Gaza revealed a completely different story. In fact, last year, at the absolute peak of this anti-Israel propaganda campaign, I uploaded a video showing fully operational, bustling restaurants across Gaza. It was footage filmed and published by Gazans themselves. There was so much Nutella in their videos, yet mainstream media networks deliberately chose to turn a blind eye and ignore it entirely. But what about the images of starving children that flooded social media and appeared on the front pages of major newspapers around the world? Those images shocked millions of people. They were presented as undeniable proof.
The mainstream media is just so retarded and pathetic. I can't stand them.
That Israel was starving Gaza. But there was one critical detail that was quietly left out. All of the most famous children featured in these viral images were not suffering from starvation caused by the war. They were suffering from serious medical conditions that existed long before those pictures were taken. Take Muhammad El Matuk or Osama El Rakab. Their photos were shared all over the world as symbols of famine.
Hey old nigga, when you gonna compete? The longer you wait, the worse off you are. Brothers trying to be a 36-year-old rookie. You have the physique now. Is it because your chicken legs and your refusal to train them hard? Locking Unk
Later,
name
it became clear
YFFB
that both
rookie who's
children suffered
36.
from severe chronic medical conditions, including genetic and metabolic diseases. Some international media outlets quietly corrected or updated their reports, but by then the original images had already reached millions of people. Very few people ever saw the corrections. Using children with serious illness as political symbols is one of the most cynical propaganda tactics I have ever seen. And there is another fact that all Western media never mentions. There is a clear medical reason why Gaza, unfortunately, has a significantly higher rate of rare genetic disorders. Roughly 40% of marriages in Gaza are between first cousins, and when close relatives marry, the risk of rare genetic anomalies in children increases exponentially. But you will never hear The Guardian, BBC, or CNN report on basic facts like that.
They were also suffering from inbreeding.
Yes, thanks, Dodo.
And if you disagree with me, great. Prove me wrong. Show me verified photos or videos from Gaza of starved individuals who do not suffer from pre-existing genetic conditions. Official data demonstrated that during certain months, the amount of food entering Gaza supplied nearly 100% of the total daily calorie needs of the entire population.
No, it's more than that. It's way more than that.
So, if tens of thousands of aid trucks carrying hundreds of thousands of tons of food were entering the strip, why were some civilians still struggling to
Hamas stealing everything.
get meals? The answer lies inside Gaza itself. Hamas hijacked aid trucks at gunpoint the moment they crossed the border. Instead of allowing humanitarian relief to reach needy civilians for free, Hamas stockpiled the supplies in their underground tunnels for their own fighters or resold it in local markets at extortionate prices, charging hundreds of dollars for a single box of basic goods. This entire media campaign relied on the hypocrisy of the United Nations. A quick look at the UN's own official numbers exposed the double
UN's
standard.
piece of shit.
Since the outbreak of the war, the UN Security Council convened over 60 times to discuss the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Now, let's compare that to the rest of the world. In Sudan, where the single largest famine crisis on earth is currently unfolding, with over 24 million human beings facing acute starvation, the Security Council convened just 19 times. In Yemen, where 17 million people suffer from severe food insecurity, the Council met a total of 2 times. In Somalia, where nearly 2 million children under the age of 5 suffer from severe acute malnourished, there were only 2 meetings. Just 2. Now ask yourself one question.
Yeah, the UN is obsessed with hating Jews in Israel. That's why.
If the UN is guided only by humanitarian concerns, how do you explain the enormous difference? The UN Secretary Council is not operating out of universal humanitarian concern, but rather out of a political agenda. Many people assume the UN is a neutral, objective international body.
No.
It isn't. It is an intensely political arena where non-democratic, Islamic and communist anti-Western regime hold immense voting power. They obsessively target Israel while ignoring genuine global catastrophes. And who pays the ultimate price for these fake campaigns against Israel?
Fucking Orban.
The innocent human beings who are suffering through real, unpublicized crisis. The people of Sudan, Yemen, and Somalia who desperately need life-saving aid and global attention. But in their case, because there is no way to blame the Jews, the Zionist state, the international community simply loses interest. Not the UN, not the media, not the campus protesters, and certainly not the unholy Islamic Socialist Alliance. I have yet to see a single Hollywood celebrity post a single story raising awareness for the starving children of Sudan or Yemen. To everyone watching this video, I have a few simple requests. First, please do not take my word for it. Verify everything yourself. Research the cases of those children. Was there hardship and suffering in Gaza? Of course there was. War causes immense hardship, and starting a war carries devastating consequences. But the narrative of an engineered, systematic famine was a political myth. Second, please follow the Gazawood page on social media, X and Instagram. All the
Gazawood's
footage
funny.
shown in this video comes directly from their pages of content published by Gazans. Their original pages have been repeatedly shut down by anti-Israel campaigns. It is insane. Channels that show the truth from Gaza, videos posted by Gazans themselves, are attacked by anti-Israel campaigns that don't want you to see the truth from Gaza. So follow them to see the real Gaza.
All right, this guy, Drifter. This guy has a bunch of medical problems, and his doctors sound like complete retards, and it seems to be almost entirely related to hypogonadism.
Hey guys, Drifter here. I've been suffering from a debilitating illness for about half a decade now, and despite the best efforts of over 100 doctors and thousands of tests, the diagnosis remains unknown. I haven't had much in the way of treatment because, well, nobody knows
It's called being a beta male. You need testosterone.
what condition to treat, and unsurprisingly, with no treatment, I'm only getting worse with time. Whatever my problem is has caused a permanently broken spine, extraordinary full body pain, profound weakness in my hands, and has recently limited my ability to speak, which is why I'm going to have to record this video over several days. I'm afraid that I'm circling the drain here, and I don't know how much time I have left before I have to live in a care home. So today, I'm going to be telling my entire medical story from start to finish, and also making all of my medical records public, the purpose of which is to beg the greater internet for help diagnosing whatever this mystery illness is. I'm asking all of you to take a look at these documents and offer your insights, or share them with any medical professionals or medical organizations that might want to help. You'll find links to all the documents, patient summaries, and my contact information all down there below in the description of this video. It's all going to be very easy to find. We even have a Discord channel set up if you want to chat with others about this. I'm also going to allow for unlimited re-uploading, editing, reacting, and sharing of this video and its associated contents across any platform. You'll never get a copyright strike from me because I want this call for help to go as far and
He's saying he's losing his ability to speak. That sounds like complete horseshit. It sounds like he's probably just depressed and tired. He does not sound like he has issues speaking.
as wide as possible. The reason for that is because there are thousands of medical professionals that run YouTube channels, and if you happen to be fans of any of them, I would appreciate it if you would share this video with those. Well, again, I'm tired of being the world's sickest man. The documents in the description of this video have been depersonalized because many to start the medical history. So if I were to come into your clinic with a list of symptoms and complaints, my number one complaint would be that I'm dealing with migrating polyarthralgia, that for the past 5 years has been this joint hurts and then it gets better and then this joint hurts and it kind of moves around for no clear reason. But recently it's
Yeah, that's all in his head. It's just a load of horse shit. It's low T beta male bullcrap.
moved on to just full body arthralgia from toes up to my jaw, including TMJ, sensitive knees, weak elbows, and it's especially bad in my fingers and toes. My extremities seem to get it worse than anything else. The type of arthralgia is not Ehlers-Danlos. I've been cleared of genetic and non-genetic Ehlers-Danlos, and it doesn't appear to be something like seronegative rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, it's all in your head.
Because it doesn't swell, it doesn't discolor, and it doesn't get hot. And
yeah, that means it's all in your head.
Doesn't really show anything on any kind of imaging or labs. Instead, what I'm experiencing is a sort of profound weakness that results in easier than average sprains and little to no durability. Just something like grabbing an object and holding it for a long period of time is enough to cause me pain for days or weeks. Things like lifting the milk carton, pushing a heavy door.
Yeah, so it's all in his head.
Maybe
the only other explanation would be like osteoporosis and weak tendons and ligaments from low T. He was severely hypogonadal.
Picking up a little something that weighs 10-15 pounds will strain my knees. It takes very little effort to strain or somewhat sprain a joint, and if they do get sprained, the healing is very slow. Sometimes they just don't seem to heal at all. So I can't do things like hold my phone and doom scroll because my fingers give out after a few minutes. Can't hold a controller to play video games. Can't lift hardly anything. I have to move very particularly, and exercise and physical therapy and occupational therapy and swimming and all of that haven't really made any difference. So I just would like to have stronger joints. Next up, cold sensitivity. That's pretty severe. I cannot do cold weather at all. Just walking through the freezer section at the grocery store.
Yeah, that sounds like mild hypothyroidism.
Or is a lot harder on me than it should be. Conversely, I also
He really needs to work out.
Yeah, thanks, Dodo.
have sunlight sensitivity, somewhat recently developing this year. The sunlight sensitivity is not a heat sensitivity. I'm actually heat tolerant, resistant, almost immune. Anything under about 105 degrees doesn't really bother me very much, but the sunlight tears me up. It's tough on my eyes. I get sunburned more easily than usual, and for some reason my legs
Okay, this is him literally imagining things. This guy both has actual health issues and he's also a hypochondriac. It's just like low-T beta male horseshit.
especially will sunburn in literally 1 to 2 minutes. I wish I could say
Yeah, you're white. So, I don't know when you discovered that, but you're white. What kind of idiot thinks, oh, all of a sudden I get sunburned more easily? Like, it's just so fucking stupid.
I was making that up, but I'm not. I actually had to get long pants for my walks because, like, going to the mailbox and back, I can get a sunburn. I have
Yeah, this guy's just nuts.
mild generalized fatigue, which has improved significantly since the days of treating for dry beriberi, which we'll get to in a little bit. Moderate generalized weakness. I am a weak man, and I also cannot use the strength that I have because using my available strength is very likely to overstress a joint. I have difficulty maintaining muscle mass. I can exercise and build.
Yeah, so this is low testosterone, and so basically they, rather than putting him on testosterone, they put him on Clomid, which is a fertility drug. I can guarantee you, like probably 99% of this shit is just low T related. Him like imagining things, being hypersensitive to everything, clearly has like weird anxiety fucking issues. Like that's all low T bullcrap.
This nigga is Saul Goodman's brother Chuck.
I don't know what that is. Thanks, dude.
Exercised 3 or more days a week. That inclusion that I'm taking is clomiphene citrate for low testosterone, which we'll get to in a moment. Mentally,
You do not take Clomid for low testosterone. It's a fertility drug. It's just fucking stupid. Medical history.
agitated if I were sitting in an office. Unsurprisingly, my medical history is complex, but here's the entire story as succinctly and completely as possible. There was alcohol and cigarette use during my pregnancy. There were drugs used by my mother before and after the pregnancy, but according to her, not during said pregnancy, but I wasn't exactly there to watch. When I was born, I was jaundiced and refused milk and any kind of feeding for the first couple of weeks of my life. In the first year of my life, I had frequent and severe respiratory and ear infections, which I
Yeah, that's normal when you're in a household where your parents smoke.
were told obviously did not kill me, but they were in the range to where that could have happened if treatment had gone differently.
Yeah, so his mother was a smoker. I can guarantee you she was smoking during the pregnancy. She's just fucking lying. That's extraordinarily normal for kids to get ear infections in particular when their parents smoke.
Growing up, I suffered from very extreme childhood abuse that I'll keep the details short on here in this video. You can find a little bit more about that in the documents that documents my entire medical history, but let's just say that things were done to me that you cannot legally do to prisoners of war. Unsurprisingly, again, childhood psychiatric problems stemming primarily from that abuse, and instead of
So yeah, he's just mentally fucked up and retarded. A lot of the crap he's complaining about is literally in his head. Like, the sunburn thing, like, that's just imagining shit. Just completely fucking retarded.
loop diuretics, and I got a spinal on the optic nerve, overdosing or struggling to process these meds during most of my childhood. As we move into later childhood, I developed idiopathic pseudotumor cerebri, which is increased swelling in the brain and pressure on the optic nerve. It caused migraines and blurred vision. The migraines were bad and often kind of random, but they could be triggered by the smell of a heater or really loud bassy sounds. The blurred vision was pretty permanent though. The treatment, since this was idiopathic, is that I was treated with loop diuretics, and I got a spinal tap like every other month for several years. It's probably not good for me, but that's what they did to relieve the pressure. I got a couple of horror stories about that, but we can skip those.
I can guarantee you it wasn't idiopathic and the doctors just didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
And move on ahead. When I was 13 years old, there was a change in custody, so I was forced to quit all of the tricyclics and SSRIs cold turkey. Not very fun. Don't recommend endocrinology. Normal genital development, normal genital hair, normal genitals. There was no reason that I was even kind of a big kid. Nobody suspected that I would have been low on testosterone, which is kind of what all this is moving towards.
You are very clearly, you can just tell by looking at the guy, he's low on testosterone. I don't know where the fuck people get that idea. So idiopathic hypogonadism, whatever. His testosterone is like
hypogonadism
crazy
or low testosterone for the non-medical doctors watching. When untreated, my testosterone is about 34 NGDL. It's sub.
So that is crazy. His testicles are literally completely and utterly non-functional. And I mean completely and utterly non-functional. There are men with double orchiectomies who do not have testicles, who have higher testosterone levels than him. So basically all of his testosterone is coming from his adrenal glands. That is shocking. I've never seen anybody with testosterone that low who has testicles. Like, it's actually crazy.
Sub 50 quite often, but when treated with clomiphene citrate, which is the only treatment I've gotten so far, it rises to about 5 to 700.
So this just shows you this guy's doctors are completely and utterly fucking retarded. So this guy has completely and utterly non-functioning balls. What do? They give him fucking Clomid, which is a fertility drug. Why would you give him Clomid, a fertility drug? Why wouldn't you give him testosterone? And what's probably going on is this guy just doesn't have a high enough test dose. So some of the problems he's talking about seem to be related to low testosterone, not having enough androgen signaling. And he's only at 500 to 700 nanograms per deciliter. That's considered normal, quote unquote.
At Kylik, Breaking Bad sucks, and so does Mad Men. Most drama series in general blow.
Thanks, Dodo. So this is considered normal, quote unquote, but you can really get into the weeds about what exactly is actually normal. Given that this guy is talking, you can just look at him. The guy's a fucking beta male. My joints hurt. My hands hurt today. My knee hurts today. My other knee hurts today. Oh, I get injured so easily. Oh, I can't put on any muscle. I'm so weak. He clearly needs more fucking testosterone. Just use your fucking brain. This guy is saying his body's falling apart. He's extremely fucking weak. He has an incredibly weak constitution, in every imaginable sense. And we have drugs that literally make you bigger and fucking stronger and more manly. What should he be on? Huh? I don't know why the fuck nobody's figured to put him on a higher test dose. Just fucking insane. So this is fundamentally what the guy's fucking problem is, if you ask me. He's only at 500 to 700 nanograms per deciliter. Probably ideally for him, he'd want to be at least over 2,000 for symptom relief. Clomid is the dumbest fucking drug to put somebody on if they have low test. Again, it's a fertility drug. It makes no fucking sense.
No, Dodo Man Men is cinema. Don Draper is one of the best written characters in fiction.
That's nice, thanks.
Just kind of depending on the timing in the month or whatever. There are also abnormalities in my FSH, LH, and prolactin, depending on if I'm being treated or not, with the abnormalities showing up when I'm not being treated. And I want to emphasize here that this is idiopathic. I don't have any genetic conditions that cause this. I don't have a pituitary tumor, testicular cancer, any known endocrine abnormalities that can cause this, any drug or lifestyle factors that can cause this. As a matter of fact, this is where I started getting my first psych referrals because the doctor thought that I was faking to get testosterone to get yoked at the gym or whatever.
So, like I said, this guy's doctor is a fucking retard. Buddy, somebody walks into your fucking clinic looking like this, and you have a problem with them wanting to be bigger and stronger and more manly, and you don't want to prescribe them testosterone? So, the doctor this guy is seeing literally admitted his bias. He doesn't want this guy on testosterone, which is why he gave him fucking Clomid. And, he's not being given the fucking drug that he should be on. But, just imagine. The doctor has a problem with this weak beta male wanting to be bigger and stronger, as if that would be bad for him. Doctors are the biggest fucking retards, dude. And again, I would fucking bet like 90% of this guy's problems are just related to the low T.
But it was
He's still
initially
not getting
treated with
treated for it
clomiphene
properly.
and anastrozole because when I first took Clomid, it resolved all of my symptoms, which we're going to get to in
Why the fuck is he on anastrozole? So he's on an AI for no reason. That might also be related to his joint pain and the problems with connective tissue weakness, why he gets injured so easily. So his testosterone is still pretty low. It's 500 to 700. It's not that high. He's being put on fucking anastrozole, which absolutely crushes your estrogen. You need estrogen for like tissue healing. So this doctor is fucking insane. He's literally fucking the guy up.
a moment. They're wild, but it did raise my estrogen a little bit high, so we took anastrozole for 2 years to lower that.
There's absolutely no reason to control estrogen unless you're getting like gynecomastia. This doctor's a fucking idiot. Like your estrogen was a little high. That's not a problem. Like that's actually what you want, you idiot. Like this guy's doctor is a fucking idiot.
For that, after about 2 years, my doctor wanted me to quit both of these medications to see if my system would reboot, as he explained it. I was told that quitting cold turkey with no tapering is fine and we'll retest again in about 3 months. 3 months later is when the worst of my symptoms hit, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Why, like this doctor is psychotic, like actually psychotic. Doesn't let him take testosterone because he's worried he might get big and strong. Puts him on Clomid, a fertility drug, which isn't used for this. His estrogen was slightly elevated, which is not a fucking problem in any way. In fact, it's probably ideal.
No, Kyle,
I don't care. Thanks, Dodo. And he's been on anastrozole, which, by the way, has a bunch of side effects. You do not, like, anastrozole is an extremely potent anti-estrogen. So, like, again, some of the pain symptoms he's having with like joint issues and stuff, that might actually be related to the anastrozole. And this guy walked into the fucking clinic literally with lower testosterone than you see in some men with a double orchiectomy. And the doctor just decided to take him off the fucking meds. Why would you do that? Like, he clearly needs ongoing fucking hormone replacement therapy. Like, he is actually seeing a fucking retard for a doctor.
I bet if he begged for estrogen and said he wanted to be a woman, they would give it to him, no questions asked. Society hates masculinity and wants everyone weak and beta. They fear strong men who can think for themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Kyle.
But obviously we got back on Clomid to stabilize, and the second time there was no estrogen rise and no need for anastrozole. And endocrinologically, my IGF-1 is 97, which is still in range, but it's a little bit low.
That's not just a little bit low, that's very low. Again, especially considering the problems this guy has. He wants to have his IGF-1 much, much higher, like at least double. So he should be on growth hormone. And again, this guy's talking about having a broken spine that won't heal. Like, he literally has bones in his body that will not heal. And he happens to be on anastrozole, which would prevent bone healing. He's hypogonadal, and he's only gotten his testosterone up to 500 to 700, which, again, he's not even on testosterone replacement therapy. That's probably not anywhere close to what he needs. And his IGF-1 is very low, too. So...
I'm the one that asked about taking test after 10 years natty lifting last week. I went to a clinic, and he suggests IGF-1 LR3 to start. He's cautious about starting tests since I'm young and healthy biomarkers. $700 for 10 weeks of IGF-1 LR3.
Yeah, if you want to get scammed and throw your money away on bullshit, go for it. Great idea. You're clearly talking to a fucking genius, dude. Thanks, Nick.
Oh, for a man my age.
So he should be on fucking growth hormone too. But oh wait, he might get strong. You wouldn't want that, right? Don't prescribe this guy medications that would actually help him. Just put him on like Clomid. Like,
And now for the really weird part. I got paradoxical or opposite symptoms of what you would expect. Low testosterone, especially profoundly low testosterone, is associated with weight gain, depression, erectile dysfunction, pejoratively soy boy or beta male type behavior. I got the
You are acting like a soy boy and a fucking beta male. Like, where the fuck does this guy... my knee hurts, my other knee hurts, I can't lift up a bottle of milk. Like,
opposite. I got hyperarousal. I was sexually active about 4 times per day. I had increased interpersonal aggression.
yeah, that's normal. So low testosterone tends to increase aggression. You'd also, like, sometimes you actually do see hyperarousal with low testosterone because low testosterone can actually lower serotonin. So if your serotonin level, and he's also been on a bunch of psych meds, which might have also affected this, like, long term. So he might be very, very low in serotonin, and that's why he has the hyperarousal and increased aggression.
I became very toxic in a lot of ways. Increased exercise tolerance. I was so incredibly high
Guess
energy
who
that I was
got cuter?
Let me take a look.
Hi, Joey. I just have a couple questions for you while you're laying there
Oh my god, he's so sentient.
doing nothing. First of all,
Oh wow.
why are you so cute?
Oh, he's
Why are
really
you so
cute.
perfectly formed? Why are your eyes so pretty?
Oh, he's so good.
Why are your paws booted? Why are your eyes
my
so
God.
beautiful? Why are you the way you are?
I don't know if he knows any of those answers.
That's all.
It's just the way he
Thank
is.
you for your time. Hi,
That's really good. Thanks, Ethan, though.
was going to the gym multiple times per day. I didn't sleep very much at night because I would just wake up and either want to have sex or work out. And I had symptoms bordering on mania. As a matter of fact,
So again, this aligns perfectly with somebody who has like weird neurotransmitter dysfunction, and that might be related partially due to the low testosterone and also related to the psych med history.
the first diagnosis for this problem was that I was probably developing bipolar and was in a manic state. It was only on a friend of mine's recommendation that we checked testosterone and found that it was low. Upon taking clomiphene citrate and restoring my normal endocrine balance, all of these symptoms just kind of went away. I didn't get much in the way of change in weight. I did get slightly lower muscle mass when my testosterone is low, but not crazily. And another odd one is that I weirdly
Let me guess. He's retarded and delusional. Like, there's some things that this guy says that you just can't believe. So, like, where's the fucking evidence for this? Oh, once my testosterone increased, my muscle mass reduced. Sure it did. Just like how he says he can't go outside to his mailbox without wearing pants or else he'll get a sunburn. Sure. So this guy just still needs to be treated with TRT. Lower libido with higher testosterone values. That's kind of uncommon, but it makes sense. Testosterone's serotonergic. And some men are hypersensitive to serotonin, so when you raise serotonin through testosterone, it can lower your libido.
get lower libido when my testosterone values get higher. When they get above about 700, my libido has a tendency to drop a little bit.
Yeah.
Why does society seem to love strong women but hate strong men so much?
Because they're jackasses. Thanks, Dodo.
It doesn't turn to erectile dysfunction, it doesn't bottom out, but it's just a little lower than normal, and I can notice that. And I don't know why these symptoms were so opposite. The first couple of times I went to a doctor about this, I was accused of faking and lying. I wear a lot of gym clothes because they're comfortable. I think they assumed I was trying to get TRT for gym gains or something, but it took multiple rounds of testing to confirm this before I was believed. On the subject of testosterone,
I just cannot stand fucking doctor. Like, again, even assuming that's the case, like, somebody, like, if you're a doctor, somebody walks into your clinic looking like this, why the fuck would you have a problem with them wanting to be bigger and stronger and more manly? Doctors can go fuck themselves. But again, if a fucking trans kid wants to fucking remove their genitals or something, oh yeah, we can treat that. If a man wants to be big and strong, oh, what the fuck are you doing here? Oh my god, it's just fucking crazy backwards retard world.
I most likely have had low testosterone for my entire life due to the fact that I did not develop a beard growing up. I was always kind of tall and skinny, very smooth skin, no beard or anything. The little stubble you see right now didn't come in until my 30s when I started taking clomiphene. Though I did have a normal puberty, normal genital development, size, shape, whatever, including hair. I did have teenage gynecomastia, which I'm still carrying around a little bit of man boobies from. I've actually never had erectile dysfunction. I've had doctors sit me down and get uncomfortably close and hold my hand and tell me not to be ashamed and it's okay and I can talk about this, and kind of the same thing on the internet, but no matter how low my T got, I never had that problem. I just actually kind of had the opposite problem. And over the course of my life, I always did find it a bit harder to build muscle than my peers. I was always a little skinnier, a little weak.
Like, again, this dude has a weak constitution, and like we have drugs that produce a strong constitution, and then he's wondering why he feel like everything hurts, and like just take higher doses of test.
Weaker, a little bit
stupid,
getting like 10 to 15 night.
Thiamine
Big one is that my
deficiency.
hands and forearms just burned like they were on fire for years and years and years, which meant I just about could not sleep for several years. I was like 2 years of getting like 10 to 15 minutes of REM sleep at night, which is not good, until eventually a neurologist tested my vitamin B1 and the thiamine deficiency was confirmed. I initially treated with the cheap Walgreens over-the-counter thiamine mononitrate and then quickly moved over to benfotiamine, which pretty much...
It's simply because society hates men unless they are queer, like trans kids.
Yeah, thanks, Dodo.
Immediately relieved my symptoms. I started feeling better in like 12 hours, and I was significantly improved after 3 to 4 days, though it did take 9 to 12 months of supplementation for a full recovery for all of the nerve pain to go away. What's weird about this is that it's still considered idiopathic. I don't have any genes or conditions known to cause thiamine disruption or bleeding or processing in any capacity. I don't abuse alcohol or drugs or have a restrictive diet or literally any known thing that can cause thiamine deficiency, and I wasn't starving myself either. So there was no real explanation for this. Now, several years later, I have noticed that this does have a tendency to recur after minor injuries. If I get a big enough sprain, if I do an outpatient surgery, like recently I had my spinal cord stimulator, that triggered beriberi and I had to supplement much more. And I think the minor like tendon injuries that I kind of picked up when discontinuing clomiphene contributed somehow to this onset.
So there you go. This guy had more injuries after discontinuing in clomiphene. He also talked about stopping anastrozole. Anastrozole might also be I think that I have no idea why he was on anastrozole, just fucking stupid, but yeah. So his pain and like resilience to injury was better when he was on clomiphene. Why the fuck don't you get on test? Like, this guy is dumb, like genuinely stupid. When you go to the fucking doctor's office and like they immediately accuse you of being a liar, why the fuck would you want to go to that doctor anymore? Like, you're actually fucking dumb. So, like, this guy, like, I don't know how he hasn't figured out his doctor's a fucking idiot. Like, go see another fucking doctor who isn't a fucking dumbass cunt.
Of beriberi, which went undiagnosed for way too long and caused an outrageous amount of damage to my body. To say nothing of how extremely damaging this is to mental health. Imagine being on fire, burning for years, constant knowledge and bone mineral osteoporosis begins.
Yeah, extremely low bone mineral density. So this is from the low testosterone. Men with low testosterone have low bone mineral density. Again, he could increase his bone mineral density by increasing his test, taking growth hormone, and doing load-bearing exercise. So, like, he's basically got osteoporosis. Why in the fuck isn't this guy on hormone replacement therapy? When he, like, his doctor again is just a fucking
early
retard.
On the charts. Hip is close to -2 and arm is almost exactly -2, which is where osteoporosis begins. I'm a 38-year-old man with extreme osteoporosis, which is very bad.
Again, why aren't you on testosterone replacement therapy?
Except what's more concerning is that there's no explanation for this. I've kind of
There's no explanation. Your fucking testosterone's 34, you idiot.
Run up and down endocrinology and bone
Oh
mineral
my
density
God.
specialty clinics and things like that.
This guy literally, oh man.
What kind of doctor is he seeing anyway, Dr. Rabbit?
Yeah, really. So this guy's been to endocrinologists, where he's explained, my testosterone is so low that men with double orchiectomies have higher tests than me. And then they can't explain why he has osteoporosis. Couldn't have anything to do with one of the most severe cases of hypogonadism like I've ever fucking seen. There's no, like unless you get into a car accident, there's literally no point in going to the fucking doctor.
My parathyroid is not overactive. It's actually low normal. It's just one, I think it's like measured like 16 last time, kind of barely in range. You can see more of this in the documents. Vitamin D is normal. Alkaline phosphatase is normal serum calcium. Now I do have high calcium in my urine, but the serum calcium is normal. CTX is a little bit high at 616 pg/ml. And most importantly, there are no genetic or infectious diseases related to my bones. No osteomalacia, no.
Yeah, so one thing that might have contributed to this too was the anastrozole. He was like again, his doctor doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. His estrogen was mildly elevated, which is not something that you have to treat. And he put him on anastrozole, which likely crushed his estrogen to the single digits. That will also increase risk of osteoporosis. So that might have contributed to it, but this guy just needs to go on test and growth hormone and do some load-bearing exercises.
Defect. Many of you may know me as the gamer who streams from a bed or does podcast appearances from the bed or is always laying down, and the reason for that is that I have a chronic bilateral pars defect at L5S1 that also includes
Do you regret
spondylolisthesis grade 1 at L5S1. For the non-doctors watching, that's fancy talk for the pars vertebra that holds your vertebrae together, has broken, did not fuse, and my spine slipped. One slipped over another, so it is very out of alignment, and that crushes a whole cluster of nerves and causes a lot of different kinds of pain. On top of that, I have almost total disc collapse at L4, L5, and S1. It's barely not bone-on-bone grinding. It's pretty rough back there. I initially got very successful conservative treatment for this in my early 30s. I responded very well to physical therapy and basically planked my way back to victory. I was the guy who followed instructions perfectly, who never took risk, who worked out very hard and built a super strong core. And I was like 80% cured at the end of my first run of treatment. Unfortunately, some of these other ailments, which we've talked about and several of the ones to come, were very debilitating and caused me to get weaker and my core muscles to disappear and my stability to go away.
Yeah, again, just going, like, everything is just related to this testosterone thing.
Tests to find a variety of tick-borne illnesses. Notably, I never tested positive for Lyme or Ehrlichia or any of these other tick-borne illnesses, just these two, but I tested positive for them twice. This was not reproducible at
Seriously,
Quest or at...
where the fuck did his doctor get his medical degree? A Cyril book.
Well, if you graduate medical school with a C, you're still the doctor, so... Thanks, Dodo.
LabCorp, but my understanding is that their labs are kind of outdated, antiquated, or just not very accurate for these types. Very thoroughly evaluated for mastocytosis or mast cell activation syndrome. More specifically, they were looking for bone marrow mastocytosis because of the osteoporosis. They think that's something that might have caused it. And in the initial testing, we found that my tryptase was elevated. We also discovered that I have hereditary alpha tryptosemia, which kind of carries its own weird association of symptoms, though I don't fit all of those super well. But weirdly, in this picture, I have no allergies at all. I got tested for allergies. Every single one came back negative. I can't remember ever having an allergy or a flare-up or a skin reaction or a trigger or anything like what you would typically see with a mast cell disorder. I got a KIT gene mutation test, which were all negative as well, including some very fancy ones that I paid a lot of money for. Did a bunch of urine tests, I think leukotrienes and something else. And basically, there were no other labs suspicious. I was evaluated for IgG4 related disease because when we tested my immunoglobulin subclasses, my IgG4 came back elevated at 165. My understanding is that's definitely on the lower end of what IgG4 disease would qualify, like the bottom end of the cutoff, so borderline again, typically it would be much higher. But weirdly, my IgG1 is low. It's below normal. The IgM total is either borderline or low, depending on the day and time of testing. So we definitely have some sort of immune imbalance here. We have inflammatory cytokines of tumor necrosis alpha and interleukin 10 elevated. Those are the only ones that are elevated. None of the other ones are. They're all very normal. And I related disease. And unfortunately, I can't simply just take prednisone for a bit and see if I feel better, because that would do terrible things to my already terrible bone mineral density. But we've got 2 more weird ones to throw at you today. And here we are at something even stranger in my medical records, which is imaging negative growths in my left forearm.
So all, like, again, this is just a bunch of bullshit that doesn't fucking matter. Like, his primary issue is that he has a weak constitution. So just go and fucking test and growth hormone.
Forearm, specifically kind of usually between the 2 bones here, tibia and fibia, I think they are. There's about a half a dozen small and unusually shaped growths. Most of them are sitting on tendons or near blood vessels. I've had them imaged a bunch of times.
Yeah, so this is probably related to the androgen deficiency and also being on an anastrozole and all this other crap. He just has, like, remodeling of tendons and crap that's causing weird bumps and shit.
They don't appear to be cysts. They're not perfectly spherical either. They're a little bit more, almost like a spear or a ball that's been smushed and deformed a little bit, kind of oddly shaped, perhaps saucer-shaped, but not entirely round or consistent. They're deep enough to not be visible to the naked eye. There's no discoloration or swelling around the spots, nothing that makes them obviously visibly there. However, several doctors have described them as palpable or touchable. They can feel them in office exams when you run your fingers up and down my arm. You can feel the little lumps sitting on my tendons. They are painful to the touch, they are painful in general, and especially
I can guarantee you, again, this is related to the androgen deficiency that his doctors refuse to treat because they're ideologically against men being big and strong.
problems. I have a SLC7A9 cysteine urea. It's heterozygous, so I don't get the full effect of that. I did some testing on this. I have elevated urinary cysteine, about double the normal, or double the...
Yeah, okay, so he has some kidney problems.
Given the circumstances. So I grew up with extreme childhood trauma. I don't want to go through all of the stories here on this video, but I know what it's like to be strangled, to be touched by adults in ways that they should not touch children. I know what it's like to be in something very similar to solitary confinement for a long time. I know what it's like to be hunted like an animal, to be shot at. Back to back, as in 5 minutes apart with no anesthetic, with nurses sitting on your and run with these as if I believe that I have demons and some marital problems, and it really got me down bad. That depression was very successfully treated with Zoloft. Unfortunately, an emergency trip home to help my dad after surgery caused me to lapse in taking Zoloft for about a week. For misophonia, there's certain noises and things that are very... well, it doesn't probably look to a whole lot of people like you've got anxiety.
So this, yeah, my diagnosis is he's a beta male and he needs testosterone. I can't believe this guy's doctors are like this fucking outrageously stupid. Honestly, random dudes on the internet would probably give him better advice than these fucking doctors. That's just crazy. This guy shot off his dick and balls.
Video I never really planned to or wanted to make, but feel the need to kind of fill everyone in on what's been happening the last week or so. Last week, during a professional training operation, I had an accidental discharge.
Why are doctors so ideologically against men being big and strong? VG, I bet they wouldn't say that about women.
Because they're gay, thanks Dodo.
This is despite at least 15 years of professional experience with firearms, plus many, many years of training and safety with firearms beforehand. I was in the military for 4 years, including a year as an armorer. I have trained with weapons of all different types. I've trained other people on how to use firearms. I am meticulous about firearm safety. It's been kind of one of my badges of honor for teaching people on how to use them, is how many people go, Tim knows his shit. He knows how to be safe. So that's why having this happen to me.
He was appendix carrying, which, yeah, I've gotten totally black-pilled on appendix carrying. Do not appendix carry, it's stupid.
Me, it's still taking some time for my brain to wrap around what happened, and is sometimes still a little bit hard to discuss because of the shame that comes with being someone that it happened to. So I'm going to do a full video breakdown on... I've got my old man cane for getting whippersnappers off. I can walk without it. It's just pretty painful. So I'm going to back up so you can see that I where's the camera? See, I got my catheter bag. I guess I should talk about probably. I guess I should probably talk about where it happened. I, until about a week ago, appendix carried my CCW, my concealed carry weapon, meaning that I had a holster in the front, and me being as safe as I thought I was, as safe as I always planned to be, I've always carried one in the chamber because I've wanted to be able to engage a potential threat without having to rack to slide back. Well, all of that came to a head a week ago when I went to, during this training, during a full, that's one thing I really want to hammer home. This was not screwing around off in the hills. It's not even on camera because this was not for the Northwind Aerial Channel. This was just a full-blown, planned out, scheduled professional training. And I was getting ready to do a course of fire, and as I went to draw my weapon from the holster, it went off in the holster.
Yeah, I can guarantee you he just pulled the trigger. A lot of dudes, I've seen it before, a lot of dudes will swear on their life they never pulled the trigger in the holster, but they did. If you see it on camera, they did. They just didn't feel it. So, yeah, appendix carry is a dumb idea. The gun is literally pointed right at your dick and balls. And when you're trying to quickly grab a gun out of a holster where you can just fire off a shot, really, really bad idea. So do not appendix carry if you want to keep your dick and balls.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't accidentally finger the trigger because I don't know. Will we ever know what caused it? Probably not. I don't know because it very likely could have gotten caught on my shirt.
You just pulled the trigger.
Or my belt, or the holster itself. When I'm feeling mentally and physically able, I'm going to do some experimenting of my own, and I will make a follow-up video to this later on. This is not so much a discussion of how I'm going to grow from this or whatnot sort of video. This is more just to kind of let everyone know what's going on and why, it's going to be even, it's going to be hard for me to keep editing for a bit. I have one video almost done. I'm going off on tangents. Anyways, I drew my weapon from my holster from the time of the proctor going beep with the stopwatch to the round going off, probably less than half a second. The round went through my holster, it went through my penis, and it went through my left testicle. So I am, as several of my fire department buddies have lovingly started calling me, I'm half sack now. That's my call sign. Was rushed into surgery where my left testicle was removed. And right now I have to wear a catheter for probably the next month or so because of damage to my urinary tract. The bullet center punched both my penis and scrotum and left testicle. To show you, to give you an idea of like how good of an aim that I have, it went through the seam of my jeans, in the pants of my jeans. That's how center punch.
Please come to Brazil.
I'm not coming to Brazil, but thanks for the donation, Ricardo.
It was. It's a miracle that I'm alive. 3 degrees difference in aim, and that bullet would have been in my femoral artery. This is probably one of the things that makes me, cringe the most. Was a hollow point round. I did not bring any FMJ training rounds with me, so I used the ammunition that I carry every day because I have a plethora of it, and figured why not use it.
Yeah, this guy was using fucking hollow points when he shot his dick and balls.
I need to get some newer rounds. Anyways, these rounds are quite a bit old. It was a Glock 23. 40 Smith & Wesson hollow.
Yeah, 40 Smith & Wesson hollow points aimed right at his dick and balls.
Hollow point round. It's the weapon I've carried.
It's like worst case
since
scenario,
I bought it. It's been my concealed carry weapon. And it's the holster that I've worn for at least 5 years, I think. Shit happens. It was an accident. It was a training accident. I am embarrassed. I am feeling a lot of guilt and a lot of shame and a lot of self-hatred for it. That is getting better. I am healing mentally and physically. The physically is going quite well. I have a lot of stitches down there. I would happily send you some photos or show some photos on here, but then, I'd end up being a Minecraft YouTuber, and YouTube would probably delete the channel. So we're going to leave those bits unexposed to the internet as a whole. It's not a pretty sight. It did a lot of damage, and it's quite painful. As you can see, I'm leaning forward on my Renoir cane right now, because it sucks, especially to stand. I've been spending a lot of time laying down and recovering, which is hard for a guy like me who wants to be up doing things, especially as Ammon Harvest is starting very soon. It's another source of major amount of guilt is that I'm unable to help out with harvest at the moment or any sort of farm work. Because even standing right now, the catheter puts me in so much pain from all of the incisions and everything down there that I'm basically useless. And even when it comes to editing, thankfully, as you can see, kind of like, different perspective from, the way the camera is for most of my videos, I've converted everything to a standing desk before all this happened because I was trying to get more exercise on, during the long editing sessions. In standing here right now, as soon as I finish recording this video and start uploading it, I'm going to go back and lay down because I'm in a considerable amount of pain. I'm thankfully off narcotics already. I ditched those as soon as I could because opiate dependency scares the living hell out of me, and I was my entire life, especially the day after surgery. It sucked majorly, and it's going to be a long, long road to healing. I will get back into using firearms. Right now, I probably should get myself into therapy firsthand. I've had a lot of friends and families and even some doctors recommended due to the amount of stress in my life and, the amount of
The cats that bullied this poor cat seriously deserve to burn in animal hell if there is an afterlife for animals.
Shrek was found at a colony of a bunch of cats. He was an outsider at the colony. He was either dumped there or found his way there.
How are you feeling today?
He is a very gentle, non-aggressive cat. Some of the other cats weren't letting him eat with the rest of the colony, and he had this medical condition where he can't see properly out of his eyes, and so he was not getting proper nutrition. My name is Emily Shields, and I run Whiskers and Wishes Sanctuary in areas that made him look like he was always asleep or very covered. Then he had a first-class travel ticket back so that Shrek would have plenty of room. He got adapted to the house life right away, which a lot of colony cats don't. It's a big change for them, not for Shrek. He was always meant to be inside, which is great to see because he didn't play with us. And he was just an overseer after him. I will never.
That's a nice baby. Thanks, Dodo.
Of accumulated post-traumatic stress from 11 years as a first responder. And now this, when I even think about pulling out a firearm to shoot it, I start getting nauseous and my hands get sweaty and they start trembling a little bit. We will get back to it, and I will bounce back from this, and I'm already trying to find out ways in order to use my experiences to help others, to counsel others, guide others through injuries such as this. I would never be anywhere close to as healed up as I already am if it weren't for the overwhelming support of friends and family, both online and in real life. The outpouring has been one of the most incredible things to make me feel loved this entire time. I can't thank all of you who've reached out enough. I truly can't. And I almost want to, I thought about listing like the people and giving them specific thanks, but it doesn't seem fair, and we'd be here for another half hour, and I'm having a hard time standing for a bit of pain right now. So I just want to say thank you, everyone who has reached out. There has never been a single moment during this entire ordeal where I have felt alone. Going back to the accident itself, from the moment I hit the ground, I was surrounded by people I call brothers and sisters, friends, family, and colleagues. It was, if I had to choose a moment to blow my shit schmoove off, as the kids say, this was the time to do it. I had a paramedic. I had a paramedic right next to me. I had people who've been in emergency services for their entire life. I was surrounded by so many professionals that took care of me immediately. Even from the moment I got to the hospital and went into surgery, I never felt alone. The very next day I woke up and I had people calling in to check on me. I had visitors the entire time. My pastor's coming out today. There hasn't been a day's gone by where I haven't had someone stop in and check on me, either in person or multiple times online. So this is just kind of wanted to put this video out as sort of a let everyone know what's going on in a completely unedited, even with all my stumbling. So you can see when I have cuts to videos, 5% done that I think you guys will really enjoy. It's bow fishing.
So don't appendix carry. That's the moral of the story.
Clavicular looks super duper mega giga chopped maxing, and he still has all these shills in the comments posting fake comments like, oh my god, he's so handsome, he's the hottest guy ever. It's kind of funny, actually. It's kind of funny how chopped he looks now.
You know, Frank really doesn't realize how jealous he sounds whenever he makes these videos.
And he's still paying the shills to post those comments. Maybe like before, you'd believe 1 in 10 of them. Now it's kind of comical. And for someone that claimed to be such an expert in looks maxing, he got 2 procedures which severely descended him. And you could have seen that from a mile away before the procedure. Why would you get a nose job when your nose is already small and they can't really do anything aesthetically? You know? Why would you even consent to a nose job? And everyone knows that has ever researched any surgery that extracting teeth ruins your jawline. It ruins your jawline almost immediately, as we see here. That's what the nose job, pretty bad. Tooth extraction, also bad. Very bad.
Okay.
So the county of Lackawanna recently reassessed their taxes for like the first time in 100 years, and that's my luck. You know, the year I moved here, they decided to reassess the taxes. And they hired a third-party company because I guess they didn't want to get their hands dirty, named Tyler Technologies. And this is known around the nation. Many counties in many states have reassessed their taxes to ridiculous amounts to steal money from the citizens. And my building went from $40,000 to almost $2 million.
His building, he's lying. His building was never $40,000.
And the issue is, last year,
like what, 1958 or something? Like this doesn't make any sense.
I was having surgery. I was disabled.
Didn't he say he spent like something like $500,000 buying that building? Like, what fucking sense does that make?
I was hospitalized most of.
Like, yeah, property values increase over time, and again, like, they need tax revenue.
The year, and I wasn't properly notified. And then when I went to appeal this assessment, and that's what most people do, you know, they appeal the assessment, you get a property appraisal, and they lower it to a reasonable rate. But you know, who's the joker that put it at $2 million in the first place? My problem is they are denying me due process. Last year, they purposefully did not notify me of my appointment time, and this year, they refused to accept my application altogether. When I sued them in the state court, the judge wiped his tushy with it like my legal complaint was toilet paper. And
this guy always complains about, you know, this kind of crap, but he won't hire a lawyer.
And then I filed an appeal. They threw it out again. I went to the federal court, same thing. The federal court said, oh, well, this is the state court's jurisdiction. I was like, yeah, I know that.
Well, yeah, he also always makes that excuse that he wasn't properly notified, so that tells you right there that he's lying and he's full of shit. Just totally full of shit.
The judge wiped his tushy with it, and now you're wiping your tushy with it. So it's kind of crazy. Like, these crooked people increase my taxes so much I can't afford to pay it, and then when I go to appeal it, they're not even letting me attend the assessment hearing. And I had the properties appraised. You know, the building was appraised for about $300,000, you know, far about 10% of what the county said it was. And there's nothing I can do. What more can I do besides file the lawsuits, you know? No attorneys are going to help me. All the attorneys are just as crooked as these judges. You know, these self-serving, evil people that work for this county, man, it gets you to an understanding of how these people do such evil things. When you see the police supporting these officials in stealing properties.
Dodo, did she say tofu flatbread? I'll look at that in a second. Oh, this is like reverse threaded. Fucking weird.
Welcome to.
I'll look at that in a minute.
In, you know, taking them from old people that can't afford the taxes and all these horrific things. You know, and if you go into a courthouse, anytime you go in there, every single person in there is upset. It's a testament to the evil things that these government officials do. And if everyone was fired in both of these buildings, the courthouse, the federal courthouse, they wouldn't be missed. The county would be a much better and happier place. But that's really what these people do. The job of these officials is to funnel resources to the elite. And that's why they do these assessments. That's why they do this stuff. So if you guys can please share and support this, I mean, hey, hopefully they do take my building. Then I can retire to be a homeless person in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he's just lying about everything.
My my new series, Vegan in Singapore, where I'll be spotlighting vegan or almost vegan restaurants that even my non-vegan friends love. On episode 3, we have Ahimsa Sanctuary, one of my favorite vegan spots ever. When you're here, you don't even feel like you're in Singapore. It's airy, breezy, and the vibes are just amazing. They wanted me to test some of the new dishes. We started off trying the tofu flatbread with a smoky capsicum and eggplant dip. The dip was honestly everything, like it was so addictive. Then they served us this tofukin salad. Mind you, the tofu had flavor seeped all the way in. It was insane. Next up was their gunpowder roasted potatoes. I mean, anything gunpowder, I'm in. Then came one of my favorite dishes ever, these vegan mutton rolls. That's absolutely delicious. Firstly, look at how huge they are, and secondly, it was incredibly meaty and packed with potatoes and spices. Don't underestimate their sandwiches. This was their Marry Me eggplant sandwich, and I would gladly marry twice for these incredible flavors. Lastly, we tried a calm down bro bowl, which was healthy, balanced, and the tofu was amazing. It was getting super hot at this point, so we cooled down with their mango lassi. I honestly just keep coming back to Ahimsa. Their dishes just slay every single time. Enjoy and follow.
Sometimes when an AI is failing, it's because it sort of gets into a bad chain of thought, and it's really hard to get it out of it, right? So you're like, I'll just start again. Same deal with humans. You know, there's stories about people trying to prove something for a long time, and then at some point they say, hang on a second, what if I tried to prove that it's impossible, or prove the opposite? And that, unwinding your own context and going at it with a fresh mind, you could imagine systematizing that. And I want to focus on one specific IMO problem that a lot of very smart students failed on. Terry Tao also failed on it. People were very mad at the problem. Basically, there's a really elegant way of going down what you really feel like is going to be the solution, but it's kind of hard to prove that it's the best. The reason is that it's not. There's this almost brain dead solution that is the best. And so the relevance of that to the whole AI story is for a human, what's required to answer that question is to escape your context. Escape the context that you're in the IMO. And if you just approached it like a brain teaser that I throw someone off the street, they'd probably answer.
Welcome back to The Takeout. Republicans running against Democratic socialists have found an unlikely ally, other Democrats. The centrist Democrat think tank Third Way has pledged $15 million to discredit the DSA movement between now and 2028. Its efforts will include information and social media campaigns, not the targeting of individual candidates. Jonathan Cowan is the president of Third Way and joins us now. Jonathan, thanks for being here. So you told the New York Times this includes candidates like Abdul El Sayed, who are not part of the DSA. He won the Michigan primary last night. I don't even know what day it is. Does that mean this is just a campaign against the more progressive wing of your party?
Absolutely not. So, look, our bottom line is this, and we are a centrist democratic organization. The DSA and its platform are crazy, radical in the extreme, and they will do severe.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
In this video, 3 men are beating a Ukrainian man, Maxim, in the Polish city of Wrocław. His girlfriend Nastya tries to protect him, but is also repeatedly struck. Her mother later wrote on social media that doctors suspect both suffered concussions and that Nastya needed stitches to her neck. Police are investigating the attack. According to Nastya's mother, the attackers targeted the couple because they heard them speak with a Ukrainian accent. This is not an isolated case. Some Ukrainians in Poland now say they avoid speaking Ukrainian in public out of fear. In early July, a man verbally abused an 11-year-old girl on a bus, telling her to go back to Ukraine. In Legnica, a woman attacked 2 13-year-old girls because they were speaking Ukrainian. In Łódź, a Polish man had his jaw broken after an attacker mistook him for a Ukrainian and shouted that he had no place in Poland. In Poznań, 3 men entered an immigration office and confronted a Ukrainian employee, asking her what she thought about Stepan Bandera, a Ukrainian nationalist leader whose legacy remains deeply divisive in Poland, where forces associated with his movement are blamed for the World War II massacres of tens of thousands of Poles. Over the past 6 months, reports of suspected hate-motivated attacks against Ukrainians in Poland have increased by 30% compared with the same period.
Mosque imams in Dearborn, Michigan. Oh Allah, kill every Jew, Christian, and American. Yeah, they do that here too.
of yours, you will annihilate them. Ya Rahman Rahimin, you annihilated. And you destroyed the likes of Ad and Thamud and Fir'aun. These are the Fir'auns and the Ad and Thamud of today. Ya Rahman Rahimin, we ask you, Ya Allah, destroy them. Destroy them, Allah. Take them off the service of this earth. Ya Rahman Rahimin, Ya Akram al-Akramin.
على القوم الكافرين اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين اللهم انصر.
Yeah, don't ever let Muslims in. They're all just fucking crazy retards. And then Destiny is just a fucking cock. And not all Muslims are bad.
Justin Baldoni to the hospital.
Dodo, do you think Abdul would actually win Senate? I live in Ohio and I don't want these socialist Muslims so close to me in power.
He could. If possible, but, we'll see. Thanks, dude.
With sepsis. He injected Kim Kardashian and her sister with a sham treatment, and I'm told almost killed a whole group of 9 people with experimental shots to the brain. Nonetheless, Adil Khan remains one of the most popular stem cell shillers on the internet, and his clinic gets constant, usually paid, celebrity endorsements. And today I'm going to tell you this story in full. So it's going to be sort of a long video, and not just long, but really long. You're probably not going to finish it in one sitting long. Heck, its total runtime could be longer than a typical Joe Rogan episode. That's because we're going to go through a journey of space and time to understand the core pieces of Adil Khan's narrative arc into a single compilation video. I'm posting the 3 videos in the order that they originally aired, but if you are pressed for time, I highly suggest that you skip the first 2 videos and go directly to the last one in the series, because that's where the bombs really get dropped. There's a timestamp for where that video starts right here, and there's also chapters that you can go click forward to down below. Along the way, I'm going to give you updates to where the story stands right now, as well as Easter eggs for the superfans. You could think of this compilation as a sort of audiobook that you can have on in the background while you fold laundry or work out or go on a bike ride or a road trip. I've edited out almost all the promotional bits and the credits, so you'll get a smooth listening experience of my voice. The first video in the series is where it all started for me, the case of Mark Hyman, when I learned that he'd almost died of sepsis and had said almost nothing publicly about it. I decided to find out the identity of the doctor who almost killed him. So without further ado, introducing, why are the wellness elite getting sepsis? This is Mark Hyman.
We can reprogram our genes back to a younger you, and I could literally, when I'm 63, turn my biological clock back to 25. Make my wrinkles go away, my hair turn black, my joints get healthier, everything.
And this is Jordan Peterson.
I went to the temple of Asclepius in Greece recently. They actually had people sit and dream in rooms full of snakes. When I went to that temple, I thought, these people were more sophisticated than we are in their approach to disease.
You might know Mark Hyman from his constant shilling of an alternative medicine program called Functional Medicine that involves selling a rotating slate of longevity supplements aimed to stop or reverse aging. Meanwhile, Jordan Peterson is a pop psychologist who promotes anti-wokeness as a key to mental well-being.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone who was canceled who didn't respond to it about the same way that people respond to a near-fatal illness.
In addition to their unorthodox approaches to human health, they share 3 other things in common. First, both men sought relief for decades of debilitating back pain outside the traditional medical system. And second, in the last year and a half, both of them were hospitalized for sepsis.
Because I almost died.
Yeah, it was really extreme. Dad was in an ICU suffering from pneumonia and sepsis after dealing with a host of neurological issues this summer.
While Hyman seems to have recovered, Peterson is still out of the public eye, and it's unclear whether he will ever come back. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I think their cases are even more connected than that. Because the third thing they have in common is that they also share the same doctor, Adil Khan, a regenerative medicine physician who runs a string of clinics out of Mexico, Dubai, Japan, Lithuania, and is in the process of opening up more inside the United States. You would be...
How would you rate Eric Bugginage's training ideas and tips?
Depends. Some good, some okay, some not so good, some pointless. Depends. Thanks, Jet.
Even if you've never heard of Khan before, but he is nothing less than the stem cell doctor to the stars. His patients include everyone from the Kardashians.
Why did Kim and Khloe Kardashian come to us for stem cell treatments?
To Tony Robbins.
I saw Dr. Khan because I had to have surgery, and Dr.
Do you think Dr. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Zayed could be friends with Dr. Ravi Sense that are both doctors? Also, did you know Abdul Al Sayed is like 5'3"? That's why he looks muscular. He's like Greg, and yes, he will probably win.
No. Thanks, Dodo.
Khan brought me some of the latest.
Yeah, so these people were just offered free stem cell treatment in I don't even know why somebody like Tommy Robinson would care about free stem cell treatment. Isn't this guy rich?
Technology in that area, and it immediately reduced both the pain but also the inflammation.
So it's no surprise that Hyman and Peterson fit in on his roster.
Well, the main reason I'm seeing Dr. Khan is to deal with chronic disc degeneration and disc herniations.
Now, you're going to treat me for something tomorrow, as I understand it. So
Yes.
exactly what are you planning to do to me?
Well, as you have talked about publicly, you have toxic mold.
When I began investigating this almost 2 months ago, my vision was that this was going to be a pretty straightforward topic. A couple of wellness grifters getting a taste of their own bad medicine. But the more I dug, the more this story consumed my life. And there is too much of it for me to fit into one video. So I'm breaking it into 3 parts. In this series, I'm going to tell you the never before reported story about how 2 of the most prominent wellness influencers in the world promoted Khan's dubious stem cell therapies and then tried it on themselves. While Peterson's case is unique and will require a whole episode just on its own, Hyman and Khan are public medical professionals on the fringes of medical science who have taken great pains to keep this story under wraps, because it exposes the secrets and hypocrisies of their interrelated wellness grifts. Indeed, Hyman is so committed to his grift pipeline that even when the treatments he promoted on his podcast almost got him killed, he kept his silence because he would rather see his audience and even himself hurt than say anything that undermines his bottom line. I've pieced this story together through their own social media posts and tracked down media that they've taken offline. I've interviewed multiple experts and spoken with confidential sources on the inside who confirmed my suspicions. Still, it's important to note that I haven't directly inspected their medical records, which means that the conclusions that I reach here are at least somewhat circumstantial, which brings me to the important legal disclaimer that I've got to run right now. Everything I say on this channel and in this video series specifically is my opinion based on my own investigative work. References to scams and fraud and lies and related terms should not be taken as definitive findings of fact or legal conclusions. I've used publicly available information on and off the record interviews and independent analysis to draw my strongly opinionated conclusions. There's a sharp distinction, though, to be made between facts and evidence presented and the opinions that I draw on that material. No statement can or should be in court, threatening and frankly contradictory statements a little down the line. Suffice it to say, this video series is going to cover a lot of ground, not only examining what we know about the medical conditions of these health influencers, but the promising yet grift-ridden field of regenerative medicine. There are a lot of moving parts, but it's going to make a lot of sense when you get to the end, so please stay for all 3 videos. The easiest place to start is with Mark Hyman. Hyman is the foremost proponent of the functional medicine paradigm and a 12-time New York Times best-selling author. Now, if you've heard someone announce that food is medicine, or that some combination of supplements, exercise, and lifestyle changes, along with extensive clinical testing, can prevent disease from autoimmune illnesses to cancer and Alzheimer's before they ever develop, it probably all goes back to him. He is notable in the longevity world for suggesting that people can reverse their own biological age and become, as the title of his book puts it, forever young. Which is why it's surprising that earlier this year, Hyman dropped a bombshell on Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast.
We actually had a date scheduled for you to be on the show.
Yeah.
And then I sadly learned from your team that it had to be cancelled, but it was for...
Because I almost died.
Yeah, it was really extreme.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this near-death experience, because I've known you to be a longevity expert, a health expert. The work that you do, it impacts millions of people worldwide. And then you have a near-death experience.
Now, I've done videos on Jay Shetty before, and one thing that's important to keep in mind is that he's the sort of podcaster who will never ask a tough question. He offers a perfect platform for someone to spin a story of dismal failure into a victory lap. And in this case, Hyman is going to explain how his own health problems kept him out of the public eye for almost half a year.
I joke that my biological age is 39, but my back age is 139.
This little line, it is surprisingly important because he's asking the viewer to accept one of the most insane propositions in modern medicine. Mark Hyman, who is 66 years old and frankly looks it, wants the viewer to believe that despite what they are seeing on the screen, that he is in fact biologically just 39 years old. Now, I couldn't find a photo of Hyman from 1999 when he was actually 39 years old, but here he is in 2010 at 49 posing with Bill Clinton. He also posted this pic on his Instagram comparing what he claimed was him in 1999 to what...
This guy has never been in great shape.
...looks like a testosterone-infused older self in 2021. I think it's pretty clear that he has in fact aged at a reasonably normal rate, all things considered. Yet at the same time, he is also saying that different parts of his body can age at different rates, and that his back is, in particular, a total mess. And yeah, Hyman is proficient in mental gymnastics too. Here's how he describes how he got that injury to Jay Shetty.
When I was 32, I lived in Idaho in a logging town. I was chopping wood and carrying heavy wood, and I ruptured a disc. And it basically caused massive damage.
Jason donated $2.
I've been given rare access to...
Jeez. This is not
right.
particularly
I think makes us...
interesting. Okay, they're preparing for war with China. Great.
And a permanent paralysis of my right calf. So I've limped for 30 odd years and my back's just degenerated.
This injury origin story is fascinating to me because in the last few years, chopping wood has been lauded as a life hack to boost testosterone.
I woke up tomorrow morning and I opened the blinds like I do every morning and I looked down and you were chopping wood. I would be so turned on.
I think he has to tell the story this way in order to certify his credentials as some sort of Uberman in touch with his primal nature, just like in this classic Rocky IV training montage. The story basically suggests that he broke his back because he was just too manly. Be that as it may, according to his biography, he was not actually a lumberjack at the time. He was a small-town doctor without many prospects. A few years later, he moved to Massachusetts to work in an emergency room before he joined the wellness revolution as the co-director of a storied health spa called Canyon Ranch. And once he became fluent in spa lingo, he left to found the Ultra Wellness Center in Lenox, Massachusetts, and began writing best-selling top pop health books. In 2010, he even teamed up with the Christian pastor Rick Warren of the Saddleback Church as the third author on the #1 best-selling Christian book of 2013 called The Daniel Plan.
Nearly half of all Americans suffer from a chronic disease. That inspired Pastor Rick Warren of Saddleback Church to join forces with Dr. Daniel Amen and Dr. Mark Hyman to create The Daniel Plan, 40 Days to a Healthier Life.
That book emphasized how spiritual fitness and careful nutrition can lead to physical health. And while he doesn't stick exclusively to Christian talking points, the message is the same in most of his books. Health is as much a spiritual force as a physical one. Anyway, you get the idea. Let's return to his injured back.
And I developed, a lot of degenerative disc disease. And so I've had a lot of back pain, and I ended up having an injection, which is pretty common treatment to help relieve pain. And one of the risks of injections of any needle is infection.
That sentence, it's doing a lot of work considering how important that shot turns out to be to his life's trajectory. Notice how he is being incredibly cagey about what injection he actually got. I'm going to reveal exactly what that shot was in a second, but let's let him finish out the story first.
And in a closed space of the spine, it just took off. And very quickly, within a couple of days, I couldn't walk. Within a week, I had surgery. They opened me up. They closed me up because they couldn't reach the abscess. It was on the front. And they said, we can't do anything, and basically left me to die. Gave me antibiotics and said, cross your fingers, and here's some painkillers. And
they said there was no cure.
Mm-mm.
This mystery shot kicked off a series of events that was going to lead to his death. But I have to ask you if you think that what he is saying really checks out. Can you imagine that any doctor in the world would just shrug their shoulders and leave Mark Hyman, a man with near infinite social media reach and likely the ability to ruin a doctor's medical practice with a single social media post, to die? I mean, if it's true, it's a stunning level of both incompetence and malpractice. But his next statement is even weirder.
And then a friend of mine was a doctor called me and said, what's happened? I heard you're sick. And I told him, he said, you need a second opinion. So I got an opinion from the top neurosurgery center in the world in UCSF.
Again, does it make sense that Mark Hyman, himself a doctor whose entire career is based on giving second opinions to mainstream medicine, needed a friend to tell him to go and seek one out?
Yeah. And they said, get out here right away. So I took a ambulance jet and had another surgery a month later that was really relieved the abscess. But in that intervening period, I got septic, I was feverish, I lost 25 pounds from where I am now. I was in bed, I couldn't eat sitting up. I literally had to lay down with 4 pills in my leg. And after the surgery, thank God it worked, but it was a Hail Mary surgery. And they said I was maybe a couple of days away from dying. And I remember going under anesthesia on the day of the second surgery. And I was like, this could be my last moment of consciousness.
It sounds like a pretty close call, and I'm glad that he could get the acute care that he needed from a world-class allopathic hospital. His narrative, of course, ends with him not really acknowledging the medicine that saved him, but instead casts himself as the hero, using his own knowledge of wellness physiology to come back to the man that he is today.
In the aftermath of that, I was on a walker. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't brush my own teeth. I couldn't wipe my own ass. It was bad. And I had to depend on other people, but slowly, just determined I clawed my way back to health and using every principle that I know of how to create health. And I'm 65. I'm not a spring chicken. And I know what to do, and I did it. And I wasn't sure if it was going to work at 65. You know, how much can you get back?
The whole hour-long interview just continues Hyman's own hagiography, but it's what he doesn't say that is the most important part. What was the actual cause of his illness? At the time, back at the end of 2024, a lot of people were reaching out to me privately in my DMs saying that I had to investigate these rumors of Hyman's sepsis. They were talking about it behind closed doors. His social media presence had gone on autopilot and he was canceling speaking engagements during his recovery. But honestly, I didn't put much thought into it. Indeed, he correctly states to Shetty that any injection does carry a certain risk of infection. But there was something about how evasive Hyman was actually talking about the shot that kicked off the whole affair on Shetty's podcast that made me take a second look. What was he hiding? I mean, just asking that question led me down quite a rabbit hole. On face value, the most obvious shot would be a cortisone injection, a type of steroid, which can often reduce back pain in the short term. However, Hyman notably positions himself in opposition to standard pharmaceutical interventions. It was simply more likely that he was following the sorts of protocols that he promotes in his books. But admitting that one of the treatments that he publicly supports almost killed him could discredit him in the eyes of his fans. Now, I was talking to some people in my social network, and one person, who I'm not going to name, told me that they had heard that he'd gotten the injection from a clinic in Mexico. Furthermore, they said that the clinic had gone into emergency mode to control the story before it got out. Now, while my contact didn't know which clinic it was specifically, that tip was enough to land me on the doorstep of Adil Khan, a doctor who until that time I'd never heard of. Here's a reel that Khan posted in July 2024 explaining a relationship with Hyman.
Well, the main reason I'm seeing Dr. Khan is to deal with chronic disc degeneration and disc herniation. So hopefully that'll work, and also just a general stem cell tune-up and basically longevity treatments.
Okay. So it's the exact same condition that Hyman had explained on Shetty's podcast.
So Mark Hyman has severe spinal canal stenosis, severe facet arthritis. This means the spine is very degenerated. And the only way to avoid surgery, we had to use a combination of our engineered Muse stem cells and also Muse exosomes. These are engineered to survive better. They're also engineered to be more potent, and they have a much better pluripotent profile as well, meaning they can differ.
On Muse stem cell injections, patients often need more than just one. And that's when I found this, a podcast that Hyman recorded with Khan titled The Secret to Reversing Chronic Pain and Aging Before It's Too Late.
Yeah, it's not telling me there's any problem with the stream. Do you guys still see the stream? I didn't get any notification from YouTube either that stream's down. No. Yeah, I think it's just YouTube being gay.
Remained on the Wayback Machine and now abandoned AI summaries. And this is where you came in. I posted about the missing interview on my YouTube notes section, and one of you viewers helped me get a hold of the missing MP3. Here is Hyman talking to Adil Khan about his disc degeneration.
Adil, welcome to the Doctor's Pharmacy Podcast. It's great to have you here. Last time I saw you was in Cabo when you were about to inject me with a bunch of interesting compounds that are biological compounds they use in regenerative medicine for my disc issues. And I'd had steroid injections. I'd had radiofrequency ablation, which I didn't know when at the time, but caused secondary consequences of damage to my back through damaging the muscles in my back. And so basically, I really struggled. And the only thing that's helped me take away my back pain are these compounds that are from this toolkit of regenerative medicine.
All of this leads to my working hypothesis. Hyman had been seeking various stem cell treatments from Adil Khan's clinic in Cabo for his ongoing back pain.
Canada has 2x the amount of foreign derelict investment than the US, closest competitor within the G7 right now. Job creation is twice that of the US. The Canadian economy is booming right now. It's not. Your only complaint is housing is expensive and guns, though. Yeah, so just because you bring in a bunch of illegal immigrants and you have this retarded, fucked up, broken system where they have the temporary foreign worker program so corporations can just make record profits hiring non-citizens illegally, that doesn't mean the Canadian economy is doing well. Are you even from fucking Canada, or is this just some dumb shit you fucking heard online? Like, buddy, nobody is really doing particularly well in Canada right now. Everyone's fucking broke as shit. You can look at the rates of, like, families that are relying on, like, food banks and shit. Like, everyone's fucking broke. Thanks, Scott. You're a fucking idiot.
Since at least July 2024. He would need multiple shots over time. After he felt better after his first shot, he decided to have Khan on his podcast to spread the word about this miracle clinic. On the podcast, they even mentioned opening up a business together with a mutually branded clinic in Abu Dhabi.
We do have clinics in Los Cabos, Mexico, which is probably closest for most of our US patients. And then we have a clinic in Europe. And then we have a partnership in Tokyo as well. And then maybe Mark Hyman and I, maybe we'll have.
Well, it doesn't matter because people vote on the economy at the end of the day, and most people aren't ideologues like you, so they'll vote liberal, and your vote doesn't even matter since you married a liberal voter and brought one into the
Have something in Abu Dhabi soon, but yeah, our company is called Eterna, like Eternal without an L.
Khan has posted about the risks of stem cell injections on his LinkedIn profile before, noting that the shot is not the most dangerous part of the procedure, especially in a well-run lab, which begs the question about whether or not his lab is well-run at all. My guess is that right after recording the podcast, Hyman got his follow-up treatment, and then something went horribly wrong with the shot. The needle introduced an infection, and then Hyman's dreams of recovery transformed into a near-death experience.
Didn't he get this horseshit done in Mexico or something?
This would explain why Hyman deleted all references that he could find to Khan from his various feeds, including a compilation on stem cells that appeared later in 2025 that was put together by his team, I presume. Now, if I'm right here, then this is a really big problem. I mean, someone could argue that Hyman is perfectly within his rights to keep his medical history private. That is the idea behind HIPAA, after all, to stop doctors from releasing a person's own medical records so that information can't be used against them. However, I believe that the ethic does not apply in the case of a medical influencer who uses their own personal health history to sell multi-millions of dollars worth of supplements, individual treatments, medical services, and advice and direction to go seek treatment in other places. As a public-facing doctor appearing on podcasts that reach millions of people, Hyman has the duty to tell the whole truth about his medical experiences and not a highly curated spin. The Hippocratic Oath states that doctors should do no harm. And omitting this key piece of information harms any patient who follows his recommendations. Now, you could still argue, perhaps, I've gotten this all wrong. The only way to know for sure is to see a medical record or hear it from Hyman or Khan or someone else with verifiably direct knowledge of Hyman's medical history. Just maybe there's room to believe that he got some other shot from some other provider. If that's the case, well, then he still should disclose the source of the thing that almost killed him. But now, I want to pose a rhetorical question. Would it actually be impossible for me to connect the dots even more directly between Khan and Hyman's near-fatal shot, considering my 25-year-long career as an investigative journalist uncovering health grifters and writing an entire award-winning book that exposed the reality of international criminal organ trafficking networks? Would I give up trying to get even more evidence to confirm my hypothesis? In one word, no. I don't give up.
One thing I will say is that
this connects the ongoing, because I'm not only interested in Hyman's own personal medical drama. I want to show you how this connects the entire griftoverse of cutting-edge medical promises and Hail Mary clinical disasters that I believe also adds important context to the disappearance of Jordan Peterson. As this series continues, we're going to talk about both Peterson's declining health and the degenerative medicine of Adil Khan, the stem cell doctor to the stars. Okay, so that was quite a cliffhanger, and once the first video in this series dropped, I got a lot of emails and communication from people all across the internet giving me all sorts of leads that ultimately informed the next piece that I dropped, which is what you're about to see. What I wanted to find out for sure was whether Jordan Peterson's case, a very similar case of sepsis, was related to what I found with Hyman's story. Not to give anything away, the answer surprised me. Introducing what is killing Jordan Peterson.
He's a retard. That's what's killing him.
At one point, Jordan Peterson believed he discovered the key to fixing all of his chronic health problems.
Well, I've only been eating beef, fundamentally, for almost 5 years now. I never imagined in my wildest dreams, number one, that you could just live on meat, and number two, that it would have such a salutary effect.
Unfortunately, going full carnivore failed to cure Peterson's chronic pain and anxiety. So in the years after that recording, he sought out ever more speculative remedies. In late 2025, his daughter Michaela announced on social media that Peterson had been hospitalized for pneumonia and sepsis, and he has yet to return to public life.
Dad was in an ICU suffering from pneumonia and sepsis.
This is the second video in a series where I am investigating the allure of regenerative medicine, the idea that the right mix of stem cells, peptides, exosomes, and assorted scientific-sounding health tonics can reverse inscrutable chronic diseases.
What I believe is you have 3.2 trillion cells or so in your body, and I believe they're working for you, but we have to figure out and give it the right signals so that you can heal disease.
The promises are astounding. So too are the risks. The largely unregulated field promotes the belief in an almost phoenix-like rebirth after their customers purchase any number of poorly studied treatments.
The simplest way to explain that is it's the opposite of degeneration.
However, in the cases where something goes wrong, those very clinics are shielded from ever having to report complications, even when they involve the deaths of patients. Now,
yeah. Pushes child towards IDF soldier, asks them to shoot the boy while he hides behind. Yeah. That's an old one. Why don't they leave Fauci alone? I have no idea. No clue.
As if last year hasn't been hard enough on the holders.
Destiny's a dimwit. Destiny ponders if Hassan feels bad for potentially sinking national candidates, calls him one of the most worthless voices in media while pushing back on the out-of-context excuse. The worst thing in the universe would be like sinking... Oh, wait, I'll just watch the video.
Followers are going nutty over you. Yeah, the Wisconsin stuff is a nightmare.
I also like, and again, I know we have different goals, I guess, right? Because my goal is I have strong political beliefs. I think it's good. The more people, I think it's beneficial to the United States. The more people that have them, the policies I push, et cetera, et cetera. It would be like, I can't imagine the worst thing in the universe would be sinking some like national level campaign because I just like demand that I have to be involved in like all of their events, that I need to be like on camera with them. I need to be doing like answering questions and shit next to that. That's just, it's so unbelievably selfish and clout hungry that you would do that. I don't know.
He's a narcissist.
Yeah, I know, but it's just such, it's so bad. It's so unserious. I don't know. That's crazy. But Jesus.
Destiny does not have particularly strong political beliefs.
Wait, what happened? Candidates like across the country that are appearing next to Hassan are obviously being pushed by the insane shit that he said constantly, and still continues to say. And I really don't think a lot of these people are even aware of, like,
they didn't even have the good clips yet.
Yeah, they don't even have the good clips yet.
They just got like the two old bangers, like they got
9/11 one,
his first album.
Yeah.
Get ready for when Abdul El Sayed is going and campaigning with a known dog shocker, dog abuser.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming.
Even if I'm the story, no one ever fucking listens to what I have to say about this shit, where they'll be like, no.
Because you never have anything to contribute meaningfully. All you say is out of context, like over and over again. It's not worth listening to for anything. It's like one of the most worthless voices in media.
Yeah, but Destiny is fine with gaslighting everybody about radical Islam. Lies about Trump a lot of the time, even though there's a lot to criticize Trump over. He still lies about him.
Last week, what used to be the safest way to store Bitcoin turned out to be the fastest way to lose it when Coldcard, a security-obsessed air-gapped Bitcoin hardware wallet, was hacked. The bad news is that a lot of people lost a lot of money, but the good news is that it's only about half as much as they would have lost if the same thing happened a year ago. Since July 30th, attackers have drained over 1,600 Bitcoin worth about $100 million from over 7,000 wallets. And the craziest part is that they pulled it off without any malware phishing or lead pipes. The victims weren't your typical degenerates clicking random Discord links either. They were the responsible ones with the not your keys, not your crypto tattoos, lecturing you about how you don't actually deserve freedom if your coins were on an exchange. In today's video, we'll dive into how the hack works and learn why victims are now bidding against the hackers in real time to try to buy back their own money. It is August 5th, 2026, and you're watching The Code Report. If you've never seen your net worth drop 60% in a day, you may not know that the way Bitcoin works is that your coins are controlled by a private key, which comes from a 12-word seed phrase. If you have those words, you have the Bitcoin. And since the entire security model depends on those words being unguessable,
who's that retard in chat saying they're going on a low-carb diet to lose weight? Have they ever heard of the Durian Rider protocols? Sugar and water.
stop being jealous. You can also meet an Asian woman, you know? $3 million, but you're tickled for 30 minutes. Could you do it? $3 million, but you're tickled for 30 minutes. Easy? Easy. No, I can't do it. I'm so ticklish. I hate being tickled. It gets me angry. Definitely do not tickle me now because we're gonna have loot everywhere because I'm gonna be fighting. I hate being tickled. Mate, you're Aussie. Does your missus have a sister that's looking for an Aussie man? Hello, I just came to say that I love watching you. You're a good couple. You're showing the whole world that you can't be forbidden to be happy. Is this Mulan? I think I have Mushu in here. So I've been eating at this buffet for a long time. This is just my first plate. Remember the first day I was here, I was trying to get some noodles and there was no one here. So I walked to the back there. I thought it was a self-serve unit. Yeah. And I got myself a massive bowl and like a lot of noodles. Yeah. And then the next day, well, someone came. I was like, oh, no, I meant to help you. Yeah. So they took over and I walked back here. I was like, oh, it's a self-serve station. Then the next day, I saw the portion sizes of the noodle. Yeah. And it was like tiny. And the portion I got for myself was massive. It was like 4 of those.
And how does it cost all you can eat for about $7 Australian?
For per person?
Yeah.
It's amazing value. We're coming here every day. I know I said, oh, I'm going to go to Asia to have a vegan food crawl, but when you find that one spot that works, that has everything, I just go
stick
there.
around. Yeah, it's easy to get another night in a hotel. Like,
yeah. As long as you got your rice, you got your veggies, like, I don't know, maybe
guessable, they're chosen by your wallet using a random number generator. A properly generated seed phrase has 128 bits of entropy, which means if you tried 1 billion guesses per second, the universe would end before you got close. And this principle is exactly why hardware wallets exist in the first place, to generate keys on a dedicated offline device with a special chip whose entire job is to harvest genuine randomness from the physical universe. And no device took this more seriously than Coldcard, made by Canadian company CoinKite. It's air-gapped, open source, and marketed to people who are worried the government is going to make you get a license to make toast in your own damn toaster. But it doesn't matter how sophisticated your random number generator is if you never actually use it. And for the last 5 years, without them knowing, the Coldcard never did. Here's how it happened. The Coldcard's firmware runs on MicroPython, which ships its own basic random number generator, which was built for simple jobs, but it's nowhere strong enough for generating keys. CoinKite knew this, so they wrote their own generator, and by setting a specific flag to 0, they disabled MicroPython's generator, or at least that's what they thought. But here's where things went wrong. Both number generators exposed a function with the exact same name, and the crypto library would decide which one to use based on an if not defined check. And because the flag was technically defined just as a 0, the check passed, and every seed phrase was generated by the basic MicroPython number generator, not Coldcard's sophisticated generator. But it turns out, because a bare metal chip has no operating system, there's nowhere for MicroPython's number generator to get real randomness from. So instead, it fakes it using the chip's serial number and a timer, both of which are deterministic. So instead of guessing a seed phrase out of every atom in the universe, you could just loop through all possible combinations of serial numbers and timer values and come away with everyone's keys. And on July 30th, that's exactly what the attacker did. In under an hour, the first attacker drained over 1,000 Bitcoin from nearly 1,200 addresses, hitting the biggest wallets first. Then 2 more attacks happened over the weekend, which pushed the total to nearly 1,800 Bitcoin from over 7,000 addresses. CoinKite CEO apologized and took full accountability, but by the nature of the attack, they couldn't just issue a firmware update to solve the problem. Because Bitcoin has no way to rotate a key, the only way out is for victims to generate a brand new seed and move their coins with an actual on-chain transaction. But of course, because this is Bitcoin, every transaction waits in the public mempool until a miner includes it in a block, which means the attacker can just watch the mempool for anything coming from a compromised address. They can then sign their own competing transaction with the same keys and a higher fee, and miners will confirm the highest bidder first. So when a 4th attack went live on Monday morning, the only way to win was to skip the public mempool entirely and send your rescue transaction directly to a mining pool, since the bot can't outbid a transaction it never sees. So yeah, the official rescue plan for your trustless, decentralized money was to put all your trust in one centralized miner and hope for the best. As for CoinKite, every unsold device in their warehouse carries carried the same broken firmware, so they had to halt shipments and take their remaining inventory out to the pasture. But all of this could have been avoided had they just built their product with Lovable, the sponsor of today's video. Lately, I've been wanting to make the world a better
Now, in the first video in this series, I showed how the most influential functional medicine doctor in the world, Mark Hyman, traveled to a regenerative medicine clinic in Mexico that he promoted on his show called Eterna Health, and then, shortly thereafter, almost died of sepsis. If you're just tuning in now, you might want to go back and check it out before you watch this one. After all, seeing that video might give you some context for why Michaela Peterson wrote me this colorful note on Instagram. Expect a letter from our lawyer. Way to capitalize on my dad's neurological illness for clicks, you absolute psychopath. Then again, if you just want to skip that investigation because you want to know what is happening with Jordan Peterson, well, you're in the right place.
Now, you're going to treat me for something tomorrow, as I understand it. So
Yes.
exactly what are you planning to do to me?
If you haven't heard of him, Jordan Peterson is a controversial clinical psychologist who waded into the culture wars in 2016 and gained notoriety for climate denialism, a stance against woke ideology, and what he calls classical liberalism. His books and lectures set him up as a conservative thought leader, and he became the intellectual guiding light for the manosphere.
The Marxists, of course, divided the world into victim and victimizer, essentially on economic grounds. And the difference now is that same narrative seems to play out. There are victims and there are victimizers, but there is a number of dimensions along which that axis of inequality can reveal itself.
I'm not really going to go into his philosophy here, except to say that it mixes some pretty common sense advice with truly unscientific statements of faith that are difficult to untangle and sometimes hard to reconcile. More interesting to me, however, is how his 9 million social media followers, who take his word as gospel, react to his personal experimentation with various wellness Hail Marys, something that
My total T in November was 647. August this year was 523. Free test this August is 11. Normal is between 736. My doc said it's normal. Fuck that bitch ass doctor doing my first pin tomorrow morning. Fuck it, SHBG was 30. Well, yeah, it's just fucking stupid. You're better off with super physiological testosterone levels. There's no reason to stay natural. It's just fucking stupid. So the way healthcare works in this country is just fucking dumb. Rather than trying to make you healthier, they'll just wait till you have a disease to treat you. So thanks for the donation though, T for all. Good luck with the test, dude.
That pushed his audience away from philosophical smugness and into the booming business of peptides, stem cells, fad diets, and biohacking. Peterson has been quite open about a lifetime of health problems, from autoimmune conditions to difficulty sleeping to chronic back pain, mold exposure, and a troubling reaction to benzodiazepines. Many people can relate to Jordan's sense of betrayal with Western medicine and the reason that he started seeking out more novel self-treatment.
So I asked my doctor to increase the benzodiazepine dose, but what seemed to happen as a consequence of that was that I just got more anxious. Again, in retrospect, it seems like I had a rather uncommon but not unheard of reaction to benzodiazepines.
At first, his search for relief took him outside of traditional Western medical models towards an intense focus on an all-meat diet.
There's a recent trial done for inflammatory bowel disease, which is a really terrible condition.
Yeah.
And right now, the only really medications are like methotrexate or immunosuppressants.
Carnivore diet?
Yeah, carnivore diet. It does work, actually.
From there, he went right into dangerous fringe treatments in foreign countries.
We went to Russia, of all places, near Moscow, to try a treatment offered by a clinic there that used
they use propofol and Dextor.
Right. Propofol as a heavy sedating agent, which basically made me unconscious for 9 days.
Yeah, so you were completely out for 9 days.
A few months ago, Dr. Joseph Witt-Doering, who goes by Dr. Joseph on YouTube, produced an excellent video examining what we know about Peterson's health history and a theory for how he ended up getting sepsis.
Now everything that veganism for life. But besides this donation, can you tell me in absolute certainty why alcohol is a horrible substance that only dumb people abuse?
Thanks for the big donation, dude. I really appreciate that. So, there's 2 reasons why alcohol is really fucking bad. One of it is a social problem where it's so normalized it's so normal to drink, and anytime you try to tell people just how bad it is, they don't really believe you, because everyone they know drinks, every one of their family members drink, and they think because they're fine right now, it's not that big of a deal. So it's just being so normalized, commercialized, and such a social norm, like trying to convince anybody how bad it is, it's very fucking difficult. Nobody really takes it seriously. But alcohol is literally just fucking pure poison. It destroys every single organ system in your body. It's an endocrine disruptor. It damages your heart, liver, kidneys, brain, nervous system, skin, collagen, connective tissue, muscles. It's literally bad for fucking everything. And especially in high frequent doses. Like, it will fucking kill you very fucking quickly. And a lot of people also don't appreciate how bad the withdrawal symptoms from alcohol can be. People die from alcohol withdrawal. It's very common. People get extraordinarily fucking sick from it. Again, that's why a lot of people stay alcoholics, because they get so fucking sick and ill, they kind of have to keep taking it. And people don't know this. Like, they associate these withdrawal symptoms from, like, you know, crack or heroin. But yeah, alcohol does the same fucking thing. And you can see, like, the kind of damage alcohol does. Like, it can absolutely destroy your body very, very quickly. There are people who are very young who need liver transplants due to frequent alcohol use. Same with kidney transplants. A lot of people get enlarged hearts, or just problems with electrical signaling going to their hearts because of frequent alcohol use. Also causes Alzheimer's, dementia, neurodegenerative diseases where you have, like, no fucking memory and you're just thinking is fucked up and you can barely string sentences together. And again, it's an endocrine disruptor, so it'll lower your testosterone, make you kind of, like, suppressed in every way, take away, like, your ambition, vigor, like, all that. Like, it just fucking destroys your life. So it's like, it is literally probably the fucking dumbest drug you can possibly fucking take. There are literal crack addicts who have said alcohol is worse than crack. So, like, Hunter Biden, he said he had a crack addiction and he also had an alcohol addiction. And he said crack was way better for him. There are bodybuilders who have had alcohol addictions. The guy who used to make videos with Jason Genova, PJ Braun. PJ Braun was an IFBB pro bodybuilder. This guy would do hella fucking steroids. You're talking about, like, 3+ gram per week steroid cycles. Running tren, fucking Anadrol, like, all that shit. He said on steroids his blood work was always fine, like, never an issue. He was perfectly fine and healthy. When he started drinking, everything was absolutely fucked. Cholesterol, blood pressure, liver enzymes, kidney function, everything was fucking horrible. So, like, people fearmonger about how bad steroids are for you. Never had any health issues from steroids. As soon as he started drinking, health absolutely got fucking ruined. So, yeah, if crack addicts are telling you stay away from alcohol, crack is better, that should give you an idea of how bad alcohol is. There's literally no benefit to taking it. Has no fucking medicinal use whatsoever. It is poison to every organ system in your body, and it is the stupidest fucking drug you can possibly fucking take. Just dumb as fucking shit. At least with something like weed, especially edible marijuana, like, you can get some anti-inflammatory benefits from it, from some of the cannabinoids. You get some stress relief. even though that might just be psychological. Like, but it doesn't really do much. Like, there is like THC is slightly neurotoxic, but like it's just not doing much compared to alcohol. So it's like when like, okay, sure, if you want to get a little high and blow off some steam, why the fuck would you choose alcohol? You can just do a bit of weed. It's not great for you, but like it's nowhere near as dangerous. It's not going to cause fucking heart disease, diabetes, cancer, kidney disease, liver disease. Can cause neurodegenerative disease in like really, really high frequent doses, but most people aren't smoking that much fucking weed anyway. So like it's just fucking stupid. There's safer alternatives. So like why the fuck would you bother? It's just dumb as shit. Thanks though, Ranilt. Appreciate the big donation again, dude.
That's happened with Dr. Peterson has surrounded a class of medications called benzodiazepines. These are sedative medications that slow the brain down. And common benzodiazepines are things like Xanax, Klonopin, and Valium.
I stopped taking them entirely and tried ketamine, which is a treatment for depression. Well, neither of those were a very good idea as it turned out. So I had to stop taking benzodiazepines entirely.
Joseph pulls on recent clinical research into benzodiazepine withdrawal that shows how prolonged use can create a rare reaction that decimates a person's physical condition.
And the condition that he's experiencing is a condition called BIND. It stands...
Thanks. I want to beat my alcohol addiction. I am your age and I need to quit. I started drinking due to trauma, so what is your best advice to beat this dumb shit, since no doctor or anyone can help me so far?
Okay. Well, I have a few pieces of advice for you. So one, GLP-1 agonists have actually been shown to help treat addiction. Alcohol addiction in particular, they seem to be pretty effective. So semaglutide, tirzepatide, and retatrutide, they are all effective drugs for reducing cravings for alcohol. And even gambling. People on GLP-1 agonists also seem to have lower gambling risk, and just like issues with drug addiction in general. So you might want to look into taking a GLP-1 agonist, especially since those drugs are just good for you anyway. Very fucking low risk with taking them, and you'll probably only benefit. You might also want to go on testosterone replacement therapy. I would check your androgen levels. Again, low androgens can also contribute to that kind of addictive behavior. So since testosterone, it's serotonergic, dopaminergic, GABAergic, you get a lot of feel-good chemicals from it. And your mood is improved. You'll notice that you're like more determined, like mental issues. So like, if something doesn't go your way one day, it just doesn't affect you like, it would normally. It's just like, okay, whatever that happened, I'll get over it. And then you just continue. You're just in a much better mental state. Aside from that, I think, like, just general outlook on life is a huge fucking deal. So, I talked about this during a live stream with Gary Yourofsky and James Aspie when somebody was like asking, how do you cope with issues in life? Like, I've especially dealt with this problem with anger issues. But like I've had family problems where I've like harbored hostility to family members. I've gotten super depressed before and like, just like sad about things. And you'll notice when you get into some of these states where like you are just so fucking miserable or so annoyed or so angry, it just does not go away. And there's nothing you can do to fucking make it go away. You can punch holes in the wall. You can scream and yell and hit things. You can like just rely on drugs like fucking cigarettes, alcohol, weed, whatever. It just doesn't go away. You're still fucking miserable. And it's not a matter of like finding a coping strategy. It's a matter of just letting go. Just let go of the feeling. At the end of the day, none of this fucking shit matters. We suffer and die vainly. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. We're all going to die. Everyone you know is going to die, and it'll be like none of this ever fucking happened. So holding on to these emotions and like getting so upset, so sad, so frustrated about fucking things that are going on, and then just you know, trying to cope with it with these like self-destructive behaviors, it's just fucking stupid. It's as easy as letting go. If you have had like a traumatic childhood experience where somebody hurt you in some way, you can just like let go of it and just not have it affect you anymore. Same with like anything that causes you anger or any bad emotions. You can just let it go. And letting go is the best way to handle it, because again, there's no coping strategy that gets rid of it. The only way to get rid of it is to let go of it. It's kind of like if you were getting bitten by a spider. Like if a spider keeps biting your hand, like, oh, I'm going to drink alcohol. Oh, the spider's still biting my hand. Oh, I'm going to punch a wall. I'm so angry. The spider's still there. Like, just let go of the fucking spider that's bothering you, and it's not going to bother you anymore. And it's same with all these like bullshit negative emotions that we hold on to with like childhood trauma or people who hurt us in any way. So just like really practice letting go. Like a lot of, if you go into some religious groups or some therapy sessions, they'll call it forgiveness, like learn to forgive. I wouldn't really call it forgiveness. I would say it's just letting go. Learn to just accept that there are some people in the world that are assholes who will treat you poorly. People do dumb shit. There's things that happen to you that are unfair, and these are just events that happen. You can either like I had a mushroom trip where I visualized this, where there was this big fucking lake, and I saw raindrops hitting the lake, and these raindrops would create ripples, and these ripples would interact with other ripples in the water, and it created all this turbulence. But there was this rock sticking out of the water where the ripples would hit the rock and then bounce off the rock, and the rock was completely unaffected. So it's kind of like being a rock in the water, where you can either choose to be like negatively affected by all this fucking bullshit that's happening around you, or you can just say, none of this fucking matters. These are just chimpanzees doing chimpanzee shit around me. I'm just going to look at the bright side of things, not let it affect me, do what I can do, live for the moment, and just enjoy life, and just go on with things. So that also helps a lot too. So that's like the most comprehensive advice I can give you right now. Thanks for the big donation again, though, Ranilt. Hope that helps.
Stands for benzodiazepine-induced neurological dysfunction. And essentially, it's a type of neurotoxicity that happens when you take benzodiazepines long-term. This does not happen in everyone, but there is a substantial minority of patients where this drug actually hurts their brain over time, and they get sicker, almost like a chemotherapy or some kind of toxic reaction. It actually damages neurons, and people feel sicker over time.
For Peterson, 4 years of benzodiazepine use transformed into akathisia, which he described as being stabbed with a knife all day long. In 2020, he checked into a hospital in Toronto, and when he didn't feel like he was making any progress, he tried something even more radical. This conversation with his daughter, Michaela, explained.
That advice about letting go is so smart. Doctor says go to rehab. I went there and it was so dumb. I have gone months sober, but people don't tell it to me. That straight. Thanks, vegan gains, and hi to your followers.
Thanks again for the big donation, dude. I wouldn't, so, like, I don't know what your rehab experience is. I can't tell you if it's a good idea for you personally or not. What I would say is, if you need any help from somebody, don't be ashamed of getting help. Like, yeah, people with severe addictive issues, some of them should absolutely go to rehab. So if you feel like you need any kind of help or support, just take it. There's no shame in getting help and support from people. But yeah, like my base, like I said before, the basic advice I gave you is, as far as like drug interventions to maybe help you stay away from alcohol, GLP-1 agonists seem to be very effective for helping treat alcohol and other drug addictions, so you might want to look down that route. Testosterone replacement therapy might be good for you as well. So again, like, get your androgen levels checked. That might also be a vector for addiction for you. And again, just mindfulness. Just embrace nihilism, like learn to just control your mind, let go of like all this bullshit that's in your head about, you know, like childhood trauma or people who hurt you, and, you know, like just don't let it, you know, consume you and bring you back to alcohol. Just learn to let go. But thanks again, dude. Hope that all helps. Animal Liberation, can you react to the voice memo?
Anyone who's not trying to do mental gymnastics so that they can continue being... Hi, welcome back to Psychobabble. I'm Hannah Spear. I'm a psychiatrist, and today we're going to talk about this voice memo that went viral. There was a creator on TikTok called Kelly, and she posted a voice message that her friend sent her with the text overlay. My friend sent me this voice memo from a guy she went on a date with, and with the caption, "That's my why." As in, she hasn't dated a guy in 3 years. That's her why. And this has sparked a big debate. What was wrong with this voice message? So let's listen to it.
All right, I figured I'd send you a voice note because it's like easier than like texting all this. But anyway, had a good time tonight. Definitely think you are lovely. However, I would love to, if we're going to go to your place on Thursday, I mean, I am looking to have that physical intimacy to see if like I am sexually compatible with you. So like if I'm going to come over, like I would be hoping to like hook up, have sex, have a good time, have like that romantic spark and that physical spark there for my own sake, because it's hard for me to continue dating someone and seeing them if I don't know if I'm sexually compatible. So
oh no, a man who's straightforward and honest. I want him to be a manipulative liar and take advantage of me like every other guy I dated.
I know you said I don't know about that. So like, I guess my thing is like, what would be the point of me coming over then if we're not gonna like hook up and like cuddle and like be intimate with each other? And if that's what you don't want, that's fine. But like, I think we should just like end it here then, respectfully. Up to you. Let me know. I'm happy to, if you do want me to come over, I'm happy to do so. Would love to have a good time. And
women claimed men are weaponizing consent. Okay, these women are just fucking psychotic. There's two things going on here why women have a problem with this. One, this guy is basically making relationship demands, which women want to be like. There's a lot of fucking crazy women with personality disorders where they want to have a power dynamic where they're the only ones who can make demands. So the man has to be able to make a certain amount of money. He has to be a certain height. He has to look a certain way, dress a certain way, have a certain job, take her out to certain fucking places to eat, go on certain dates, treat her a certain way, only have sex when she wants, you know, these sorts of things. They don't want men to be able to say, look, I'm not going to waste my time with you if I'm not getting something that I want out of the relationship. So that's one reason why these women have a fucking problem with what the guy said. And two, like, yeah, what I mentioned before, like, women like these weird, dark triad personality traits, like, psychopathy, like Machiavellianism and shit like this, where they're kind of more turned on by, like, manipulative kind of behavior. So when a dude's just upfront, I think that gives like some women the ick. Like they kind of want and expect a guy to manipulate them, control their head in a certain way and take advantage of them. It's really weird and paradoxical, but yeah, there's a lot of chicks that are into that too. But yeah, there's absolutely no fucking problem with what that guy said. Thanks, Animal Liberation.
Explains the lengths that Peterson was willing to go to in order to seek relief.
They weren't willing, because of your akathisia, which was making you crazy, they weren't willing to slow taper you down. They just wanted to stabilize you by keeping the benzodiazepines there. So Andre and I found a clinic in Russia that would actually put you to sleep using propofol, so you wouldn't have to suffer while they took the benzodiazepines out, and doing a detox.
Or suffer as much.
Oh, at least you'd be unconscious for that period of time. And doing a detox on benzodiazepines isn't recommended. You're supposed to do a slow taper, but your akathisia was so bad that even staying at the same dose was dangerous.
Right.
So we needed to get rid of that. So we spent time in Russia, managed to get it out, and it was horrible.
Well, you guys took a big risk taking me out of the hospital in Toronto, which nobody recommended. The psychiatrists certainly weren't in favor of it. And taking me somewhere as foreign as Moscow and then attempting this
fucking Moscow.
What? Generally unadvised treatment.
Insane.
It was all surreal.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
And when I woke
I love how all of this came after Michaela Peterson said all of his mental health issues and physical health problems have been cured. The carnivore diet fixes everything. He's off all medications. He's in perfect health now. I literally almost died because I got addicted to benzodiazepines and I had to go to some weird clinic in fucking Russia, and I nearly lost my fucking mind, and I'm still recovering, and now my body is fucked up and I have to go in hiding because I can't make any fucking public appearances because my health is so bad. Like, it's just... Okay, that worked out for you, huh? But yeah, veganism's a bad idea.
woke up. So as I said too, that was complicated by the fact that I had developed pneumonia in both lungs. But when I woke up, I was first catatonic and then delirious. I can remember the delirium that lasted a whole day, consisted of a sort of dreamlike hallucination that I had been kidnapped.
While going against his medical team's advice is troubling, I also understand the impulse for someone to jump ship when they feel like they have no other options. The problem with evidence-based medicine is that, by and large, most medical evidence only points to partial or unsatisfying outcomes. While many acute symptoms will reduce over time, the reality is that evidence rarely points to magic bullets. And the idea of skipping out on painful side effects with a medically induced coma, well, it just sounds enticing. And in this case, his treatment even sort of appeared to work. Peterson recovered enough from his withdrawal to return to public life, but he did continue to have chronic problems. Then in 2025, Michaela Peterson dropped a bombshell on Peterson fans.
Dad was in an ICU suffering from pneumonia and sepsis after dealing with a host of neurological issues this summer that we believe stem from CIRS, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome due to decades of mold exposure. We don't have a better explanation for his neurological symptoms at the moment other than spiritual attacks.
Remember that last line.
Spiritual attacks.
Because it's important. Michaela sees a supernatural element to her father's illness and tacks on an additional, it's a fringe medical theory of mold exposure. Now on
Yeah, ghosts. He has such a weak constitution that ethereal beings can harm him.
his part, Dr. Joseph more or less ignores Michaela's explanation and instead suggests that all these symptoms really do come back to bind the original benzodiazepine cause.
I've seen this with some of my patients where after they get benzo injured and then nervous system is sensitized, they start reacting, you could start reacting to mold, you can start reacting to different types of foods and things like that. And so he may have been able to handle this before, but now it's affecting him at a much greater level. That's my speculation.
No, I think Peterson cries so much because he's a fucking beta male. He needs to go on to like TRT. like you can just look at the guy. He's so fucking skinny and frail. And then he cries all the time and gets so emotional. Like he clearly needs fucking testosterone.
On her part, Michaela Peterson is adamant that Joseph's idea is wrong. On Twitter, she wrote, "This isn't about akathisia or medication. He's not on any medication. It's an immune system dysfunction, CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome." Again, she states that only their idiosyncratic strategies have helped him so far. Only eating meat helped keep the symptoms under control, but it hasn't been enough recently, she wrote. Okay, so we got to talk about all meat diets for a second.
I'm going to attempt to eat my body weight in testicles today.
The internet has been fascinated with them for a long time, and personally, I've heard a mix of things about their various rates of effectiveness for treating autoimmune conditions. I mean, the problem that all humans face collectively is that at some point we reach limits with what medical science actually knows, and yet we are still stuck dealing with the same symptoms that we've collected over a lifetime. It can make us feel desperate. And in Peterson's case, at least some of those symptoms originate from inside the evidence-based recommendations of Big Pharma itself. Benzodiazepines. And here's the thing with alternative treatments, sometimes people feel relief from just changing up their habits. It's something that I've written about extensively in my book, The Wedge, where you can actually increase the effectiveness of the placebo effect by sticking to a highly specific alternative routine, regardless of whatever the actual routine is. I mean, you could get the same bump if you designed a program around an all-meat diet or spiritual warfare or a fungal infection regimen. Simple adherence to a new medical paradigm can sometimes help all on its own, but that doesn't mean that it's always enough. It's no surprise that alternative treatments, well, they also fail. To some degree, getting well, even in evidence-based medicine, is a game of trial and error, and the more vague or disparate the symptoms are, the higher the rate of error, which is a long way to bring this back to Peterson's actual recent hospitalization, the one that still has him out of commission. When all other options failed him, Peterson pursued a series of pseudo-medical balms. Activating his network of celebrity contacts and internet-famous wellness influencers, he embarked on a whole cornucopia of alternative treatments, both inside and outside the public eye. Here is Peterson discussing his health with the regenerative medicine doctor Adil Khan in a video with the hopeful title, You Don't Have to Live with Chronic Pain, from December 29th, 2023, shortly after he came back from Russia and like about a year or year and a half before he came down with sepsis. I think this video is key to understanding Peterson's condition, and I want to look at two different sections with you. The first explains Peterson's own idiosyncratic approach to treating his illness. He asks Khan, who is the doctor who I've previously connected to the treatment that caused Mark Hyman's own case of sepsis in my last video, to discuss the difference between functional medicine and the traditional Western medicine that got him hooked on benzodiazepines.
Allopathic medicine is traditional medical doctor. You get a doctorate of medicine, and that's a traditional, drug-based, surgical-based interventions that we learn in medical school. So which is great.
Right. So disease treatment.
Disease treatment.
Yeah.
But then functional medicine and integrative medicine is taking naturopathic stuff that's evidence-based, that has actual science behind it, and lifestyle measurements to intervene and treat chronic disease. So
I went to the Temple of Asclepius in Greece recently. Yeah, it was extremely interesting. A very large compound. And at the Temple of Asclepius, there were rooms where you could, they actually had people sit and dream in rooms full of snakes.
Did you catch that? Khan was talking about a scientific basis.
This guy is literally nuts. Yeah, he's gonna spell it out too, but he's talking about some modern science-based approach to treating health issues. I went to Greece to the Temple of Asclepius and people were sleeping in rooms filled with snakes. What the fuck? This guy is actually fucking deranged.
For functional medicine to bridge the gap between Western medicine and wellness. And then Peterson has gone all the way over to wellness being at least sometimes about sleeping with snakes. And I'm just beside myself watching Khan trying to keep this conversation on track.
Right. And God only knows what the reason for that was. My daughter used to have snakes as pets, and she said that she would often have nightmares as a consequence of having the snakes in her room. And I suspect it had something to do with their odor. So God only knows what dreaming with snakes would produce in terms of visions.
Again, just watch Khan's reactions here.
But anyways, there was a place set up where you could have a healing vision. But there were also theaters and stadiums.
Yeah, dude, this guy's face.
But anyways, there was a place set up where you could have a healing vision. But
this guy's face, oh shit.
There were also theaters.
Look at it. It's yeah.
And stadia there, and places for massage and for saunas, essentially. It was a compound that was devoted to health that was multidimensional, right? So, and there were theaters there because part of the healing process was drama, and part of it was exercise, and part of it was vision. And when I went to that temple, I thought these people were more sophisticated than we are in their approach to disease, right? Because it wasn't.
Well, these people sleep with snakes and exercise and watch a movie.
their health facilities are far more advanced than what we have in the West.
Merely a matter of, I know there are modern medical miracles and certainly surgical bone setting and that kind of thing, hip replacements and so forth. Some of the things that can be done are absolutely miraculous. But our notion of what constitutes health and how to progress towards it, I don't think it's certainly not as sophisticated as what the ancient Greeks managed at their height.
Ask yourself this.
Oh, I don't know why
think
anybody
Peterson
takes him seriously.
is thinking straight in this video? I mean, to me, he sounds like someone
he sounds like somebody who's losing his mind, like genuinely losing his mind.
Desperately on a search for any lifeline to alleviate his painful symptoms. It's an entirely reasonable reaction to years of pain, which is where this gets so weird. Because Khan actually tries to agree with him by pivoting to common wellness complaints about the broken Western medical system.
No, and I believe in 30 years, we're going to look back on this era and be like, wow, we did a lot wrong. And the reason is because, just as I was saying, we realize now that the system is broken.
I don't actually believe that Khan really believes that in 30 years, we will look back on Greek snake dreaming and think that they were onto something. But that doesn't stop Khan from pulling Peterson into his clinical orbit. And this next section, I think it might be the most important part of this entire interview because it explains the root cause of Peterson's decline. Now, listen closely.
Now, you're going to treat me for something tomorrow, as I understand it. So
Yes.
exactly what are you planning to do to me?
Well, as you have talked about publicly, you have toxic mold. You've been exposed to it, right? And I think in Florida.
That's the theory.
Yeah, that's the theory. And so what
So
happens
they
with
don't
toxic
even know.
mold is it kind of hijacks your immune system and makes it difficult for your immune system to function properly. And so what we did for you the first time was we did intravenous stem cells, which is to help your body to build some resiliency and to strengthen.
Right, and that was different than the exosome. Tammy did that as well, but she also did the exosome treatment, which I didn't do.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because your problem's more systemic. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to do what are called intravenous natural killer cells. And natural killer cells, as we talked about earlier, are the cells in your innate immune system that can kill it can kill cancer, it can kill chronic fungal infections, which is kind of what happens with mold.
So right here, Peterson described how Khan
They don't even know if he's had any mold exposure.
was going to become his doctor and do a whole array of different treatments. And you'll remember that this Adil Khan also treated Mark Hyman with stem cells right before Hyman was admitted to 2 different hospitals with sepsis and then almost died. Yeah, that's the whole theme of the series.
And in a closed space of the spine, it just took off. And very quickly, within a couple of days, I couldn't walk. Within a week, I had surgery. They opened me up. They closed me up because they couldn't reach the abscess. It was on the front. And they said, we can't do anything, and basically left me to die. Gave me antibiotics and said, cross your fingers and here's some painkillers. And
they said there was no cure.
Both Hyman and Khan talked about the specific treatment regimen that they were undertaking, and it's reasonably similar to what Peterson was doing.
Well, the main reason I'm seeing Dr. Khan is to deal with chronic disc degeneration and disc herniation.
So we injected them epidurally using catheters. We also injected them into the facet joints.
In his 2023 conversation with Khan, Peterson seemed to be willing to go all in on whatever Khan suggested. Here they are talking about fecal transplants.
We'd probably give you the FMT as well, so we can give you your
And FMT is
the fecal microbial transplant.
Oh, yes,
because then
yes.
your body, again, we're strengthening your immune system and we're building resiliency for you to deal with these chronic infections in your body.
It sort of feels like what Khan is really offering is just to throw a bunch of clinical spaghetti medicine at the wall and hope that some of these alleviate Peterson's symptoms. But the problem
That's
with
literally what it
getting
is.
more and more treatments is that sometimes just getting treatments can be dangerous, just in and of themselves. And according to the FDA, for instance, sepsis.
React to this. We need a break from Peterson's schizophrenia.
Come on in.
Is this a garbage found footage movie?
Are you sure your parents aren't home?
I'm sure.
Big night planned. Who are you? Why don't you have a seat, right?
Oh. Really?
Right there. I'm Chris Hansen.
This
with
isn't
Dateline
AI.
ABC, and we're doing a story on adults who try to meet teens online. You see how this looks, right? It'll be bigger than Lost.
We're gonna shoot the rehearsal.
Come in.
They're gonna love this.
You're gonna be so proud.
This looks terrible. Like, really awful. I'm surprised Robert Pattinson agreed to do that. Thanks, you boy.
Is indeed a possible outcome of a fecal transplant, which is not shocking since fecal transplants are literally moving poop from one person to another. So here we have a case of 2 different well-known health influencers both coming down with sepsis after taking treatments from Adil Khan. Is it possible that something that Khan does in his clinic Maybe it's poor preparations or shoddy stem cell lines or some other factor connects their two cases. When I began reporting on this 2 months ago, that seemed like the most plausible explanation. Indeed, in the next video in this series, it's all about Kahn's clinic and the over-promising and under-delivering of regenerative medicine. But in Peterson's case, actually, there seems to be an even more troubling explanation than what I had anticipated. While Peterson didn't post about his ongoing treatments with Kahn again on his channel, his daughter Michaela actually had Kahn on 2 more times on her channel after that father introduction. And she has continued to post shorts with Kahn as recently as May 2nd, 2025, just a few months before her father was admitted to the hospital with sepsis that July.
When you take healthy young poop, literally from like a healthy young mice, and put it into old mice who are on the end stage of their life, it can actually extend the lifespan of the old mice.
That's crazy.
I reached out to Jordan and Michaela Peterson on several different occasions because I wanted to know what they thought of my sepsis theory. And well, actually, Michaela got back to me with several emails, and I just want to read to you what she said. Dad's sepsis was definitely a complication of pneumonia and intubation in Switzerland. It came as a secondary problem to pneumonia. I had a few treatments, no stem cells, with Dr. Kahn, and Dad never got FMT treatment or fecal transplant from Dr. Kahn, but he did have elbow stem cell injections, which he said helped to help his elbow stiffness. My mom had wrist stem cell injections that she said helped too. So the whole family, who talks about their various chronic health problems on their channels all the time, well, they were going to Kahn for all sorts of things. However, she maintains that her father's condition was at its heart neurological and not related to Kahn's treatments. Now, I asked her what she thought caused the pneumonia, and her answer, it was revealing. I can't explain what he's sick with quite yet. I think we're going to announce it this week, though, but the whole sepsis pneumonia seemed to be bad luck, maybe just because he's so sick already. I also need to make a correction. He didn't have a stem cell treatment with Dr. Kahn last summer. I forgot it was with someone who we had connected with through Tony Robbins.
I think Dr. Kahn is absolutely brilliant practitioner.
But definitely not Dr. Kahn. That's important. His stem cell treatment with Kahn was years before, like the podcast said. And then he also had that stem cell elbow injection at some point after that, maybe 2024. Apologies for the confusion. Lots of doctors this year to keep track of. But no Kahn over the summer preceding the sepsis. Definitely unrelated. That's a lot of information, and the Peterson team is going to give an update soon, maybe around the time that this video drops. Importantly, though, according to Michaela, whatever complications arose are most likely not directly related to Kahn's expanded network of high-end celebrity clinics. But what stands out here is that the Petersons are still incredibly devoted to the speculative and experimental treatment pathways. You see here, this is the sports code of future Scott. I'm breaking in because as I was going to press, Michaela Peterson watched that first video in the series and was decidedly unhappy with my reporting, writing that I should, quote, expect a letter from our lawyer, way to capitalize on my dad's neurological illness for clicks, you absolute psychopath. Now, I felt like that was a little unfair, especially since her most popular video in the last few years has literally been monetizing.
She literally monetizes her dad's fucking illness. Like, it's just so stupid. Oh my god, the Petersons are the biggest fucking joke.
Her father's illness for clicks. This is from her first update on her father's illness, which now has 3.9 million views, which includes a plug for a book tour and the Peterson Academy.
He's hopefully recovering. And like I said, I'll keep people updated. He has a team of people, including myself, continuing his mission, including Peterson Academy, and will be releasing his We Who Wrestle with God tour to everyone on YouTube, which he's wanted to do for a long time. And given we think there's a spiritual element at play here, we believe the right way to fight back is to keep going and push harder, if anything.
And look, getting threats like this isn't new to me or my channel. I mean, a year or so ago, I went to court to defend my cat from government overreach.
Because my cat got arrested. Well, my cat got me taken to court. Oh my God. Let me explain.
Ichabod, however, remains free. And right around the same time, AG1 hired one of the most powerful legal teams in the country to try to shut down my reporting on their scammy green powder. Those didn't work out. Obviously, she hadn't seen this video yet because it wasn't out yet because I'm recording it right now. Anyway, at the time that I'm recording, which is on March 25th, I haven't seen any legal letters. That said, I reminded her that I take ethics around reporting seriously, so I wrote her back this. Everything in that video adheres to what you wrote me. Please let me know what I said that was factually inaccurate and I will make a correction. Happy to put you in touch with my legal team if that is the direction you want to take. Now, we went back and forth a couple more times until she finally blocked me on Instagram, and you can pause to read that exchange here. So I guess we will see where all of that goes. Anyway, I think the whole point of covering Peterson is both clear and relevant to the theme of the series. Peterson's trip through poorly regulated and mostly unaccountable clinics didn't stop at Kahn's brew of stem cells and peptides and fecal transplants and exosomes, but extended into a network of off-book doctors that originally, ultimately, from celebrity recommendations, not medical experts. Peterson has seen so many doctors that she has had a hard time keeping track of them all. Her father's ultimate admission to a hospital for pneumonia and sepsis is, at the very least, a testament to the fact that, just like the mainstream interventions that failed him, the experimental ones did too. And this is maybe the real story here. It's one thing to point to one potentially bad actor in a space that is barely regulated. It's another to explore an entire regenerative medical industry that maintains a veneer of medical credibility and shiny glass offices, while it has no accountability outside of whether or not its services create a reliable stream of revenue. It's easy to forget that American hospitals are supervised by the FDA, and they have to file reports that account for all of their patient outcomes, both the good and the bad. Now, this is the very reason that we have reliable statistics that show that almost 200,000 people die from medical mistakes in hospital care in America every year. And just to quote one recent study, medical errors have a high cost, with some experts estimating adverse events costing the healthcare system $20 billion each year, and others approximating healthcare costs of $35.7 to $45 billion annually for hospital-acquired infections alone. That's terrifying information. It's the sort of statement that would make anyone want to run away from the mainstream medical industry towards any other bastion of credible health treatments. But now let's just consider the per capita number for people who die of unapproved health treatments from clinics that have negligible regulatory standards to adhere to. Oh, wait. We can't actually consider that number because no one is reporting on them. We literally have no idea how dangerous these treatments actually are. All we know is that when bad things happen, neither doctors nor the influencers who recommend them in the first place will say a single thing about any of it. It's almost as if, so long as nobody is watching, that we are supposed to believe that there aren't any problems, which has got to be some sort of mental condition all of its own. It's like if you ignore something, maybe because you've ignored it, it's actually good for you. It's at least a logical fallacy of some sort. But then sometimes the rubber does meet the road. The stories do leak out. And here's one example. Here was a comment by someone on my channel when I released that first video. I had 3 cases last decade I assisted with on autopsies where patients had been to Mexico for surgeries that were either denied here, they're cosmetic and they had a rotten cardiovascular health, and one woman's aorta, yikes, or went from procedures not available here in Canada, like MS treatments. Okay, so what that comment was saying is that he had 3 cases of people who died, because these were autopsies, because they went to Mexico to seek out these unapproved and unregulated treatments. And yeah, I know that's just a comment, but that's hardly the only case. The actual medical literature is full of case studies of people who met the same fates. In the next video, I'm going to take this story right to Khan and the regenerative wellness industry itself.
Yeah, I wonder if this has something to do with like a special risk with stem cells, or if just these treatment facilities are garbage. Like, you know, it's Mexico and they don't sterilize things properly.
What do we really know about how Khan runs his practice? Do stem cell, peptide exosome, fecal transplant therapies offer any real clinical benefit? I mean, there are scientific papers out there. Or are they little more than snake oil wrapped up in plausible medical explanations? Was Hyman's case a fluke, a sort of chance mistake? Or is there a systematic problem with the facilities they go to? Well, I've spent several months digging up answers to exactly these questions. And I've also reached out to Khan several times directly. And maybe his answers through his lawyers are more telling than anything else, because they've made it very clear that they do not want me digging any further. They even denied that Khan gave either man any stem cell injections, in apparent contradiction to their own public statements. So, what is Khan really hiding? Coming up next, the degenerative medicine of Adil Khan. Even though I was wrong about the specific causes of Jordan Peterson's illness, I think that I was on pretty firm ground when I say that his relentless pursuit of speculative health fixes are not helping the matter. His daughter sent me several threatening notes over the next few weeks after the video dropped, but no actual legal complaints, which leads us to the real meat of this story. What is actually going on in Adil Khan's clinic to the stars? Well, this next video has had huge repercussions for his clinic and his practice, and I'll fill you in on what I know about the fallout after you see this video. So, are you ready? Introducing, who is Adil Khan? This is Adil Khan, the stem cell doctor to the stars.
Kim and Khloe Kardashian had stem cells done with me in Mexico. All the headlines are saying that these are illegal in the US. This is not quite true.
Here he is with Gary Lyon.
Kid Boo.
This is why I'm confident that there are no gods, at least not the way we define them religiously. Now let's talk about where gods begin. According to anthropology, gods don't originate from external supernatural sources. Instead, they're cultural and psychological constructs. Anthropologists trace the origins of deities to the evolution of the human brain, the personification of nature, and the need to maintain social cohesion as communities grew larger. There are three primary anthropological frameworks for where gods come from: cognitive and intellectual frameworks, sociological frameworks, and psychological frameworks. For the sake of brevity, we'll only deal with the first two. So let's start with cognitive and intellectual frameworks and early anthropological theories. Classic anthropologists from the 19th century posited early ideas on how humans began inventing gods. Animism. Theorized by Edward Burnett Tyler, this suggests that the earliest religious concepts stemmed from humans trying to explain dreams, trances, and death. Early people deduced that a separate soul, anima, left the body during sleep. Over time, these wandering spirits were elevated to the status of gods. But then there's also the personification of nature. Anthropologists also observed that early agricultural and nomadic societies gave human traits to the unpredictable physical world. Gods of rain, sun, fertility, and death were created to give a face and intention to the otherwise indifferent, uncontrollable environmental forces. But as we developed, we also moved over to the cognitive science of religion. Modern anthropologists, including Pascal Boyer, suggest that gods are a byproduct of how human brains naturally evolved to process information. This is where we get into what is called the hyperactive agency detection device. To survive in the wild, early humans developed a cognitive bias to over-attribute intention to ambiguous stimuli. Assuming a rustling bush is a predator rather than the wind kept early humans alive. Anthropologists argue this naturally evolved into assuming unseen agents, gods and spirits, are behind natural phenomena, which means that the idea of gods often...
You know, all three of these could be true at the same time. That is an interesting idea, attributing agency to just nonsense.
Evolved from a faulty assumption based on a lack of information. This is why I'm confident that there are no gods.
Well, yeah, God doesn't exist. It's just a fucking retarded Santa Claus horse shit. Thanks, Kid Boo.
A convicted felon who was sentenced to 4 years in jail for drug trafficking and, upon release, reinvented himself as a biohacker under the brand Human Garage. In this video, they're talking about Khan's signature stem cell treatment.
Like for me, they're expensive to just purchase from the manufacturer. Right. So these are what are called Dazawa mu cells, which is from the Japanese scientist who discovered them and the company that owns the patent. And so we work directly with that scientist to get these cells, but they are pricey.
That brown vial, which looks to me like a horse suppository, is what Khan's reel identifies as stem cells, which means that it's some sort of variation of the brew that almost killed the functional medicine doctor Mark Hyman.
Because I almost died.
Not only that, but when I showed the picture to the company that invented the specific type of stem cells that Khan promotes, they were unequivocal. If Khan was calling these Muse stem cells, then they were counterfeits, writing,
"This is certainly not a licensed MCI product. MCI DMC have never been sold or stored in tubes comparable to what the nurse is holding."
Over the last 2 months, I've dug into the background of the world's most visible stem cell huckster. According to the records I've uncovered, he started out as a sports medicine doctor who worked his
So he might not even be giving people stem cells. Like, what the fuck?
way up, selling weight loss drugs on online portals, through advising on, quote, science-based supplements on bodybuilding websites, to running fly-by-night stem cell clinics on 4 continents. And he's making a lot of people sick. For this report, I've spoken with patients who barely survived his treatments.
Whereas I was, in the gurney or, being wheeled in, I had a chance to speak to him on the fly. Right before I went in for the procedure, he changed the protocol.
I've combed through podcasts of wellness influencers who spilled the tea.
So I called Dr. Khan. I'm like, hey, something's wrong with Katrina. She doesn't sound right. And he's like, yeah, well, it's kind of normal, this and that. There's an immune response, 24 to 48 hours to that. I said, yeah, I don't think so. I said, she's going sepsis.
And I can't make this up. Even in court records in the legal case between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively.
And I just wasn't sure what the results would be. Because like everyone else, you see this stuff on social media and you're just not sure what's real and what's not.
He said he got stem cells in Cabo, so that's probably why he has an infection now.
We're going to inject stem cells in there to calm down the inflammation.
You got a janky-ass procedure from a strange-ass doctor in Mexico. You get what you paid for.
All the evidence points in the same direction. Something is rotten at the stem cell clinic to the stars. Or to put it another way, if 3 celebrities got serious infections at his clinic, how many ordinary people had similar outcomes, but their stories never reached the light of day? This is the 3rd video in a series on regenerative medicine, an area of science.
Well, Cadaver HGH gave basically mad cow disease, the prion thing.
That claims to be on the verge of reversing just about any human ailment with a straightforward injection of stem cell ambrosia. It's about the lengths that people will go to pursue miracle treatments and the hucksters and charlatans who are more than willing to take advantage of the unregulated market. In my first video, Why Are the Wellness Elite Getting Sepsis?, I showed how Mark Hyman covered up the fact that he almost died from an infection after he got an injection at Khan's clinic. In the second video, I examined the case of Jordan Peterson, who almost died after trying a series of unapproved medical treatments from biohacking hucksters and shady doctors on at least 3 continents. Now, if you're the kind of person who likes to consume things in order, you might want to go check those out first. Then again, maybe you just want to go to the heart of the stem cell grift, in which case, you're in the right place. In this video, you'll discover who Adil Khan really is, whether he's allowed to practice medicine at all, and the troubling pattern of sepsis that follows his treatments. Then, just when you think it is all making sense, I'm going to open up the inquiry into the entire field of stem cell medicine when I expose a whole black market of fake and counterfeit stem cells. That underground economy allows shady clinics to sell counterfeit stem cells for tens of thousands of dollars a pop in a business that more resembles old school organized crime than cutting edge medicine. Before we get to that, we have to ask, who is Adil Khan? On the advice of my lawyer, Sid Rao, and in the face of multiple legal threats that have already landed on my desk, it's important to start off this report with an obligatory disclaimer that I actually had in the first video too, and I've pretty much stolen word for word from the great CoffeeZilla. Thanks, Coffee. Everything I say on this channel and in
VG, if you drove a manual transmission sports car in Australia, would you make the best of it because the steering wheel is on the right side and you would need to use your left arm to shift gears? Regards.
I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, especially sports car. If it was like some slow-moving Jeep, I wouldn't maybe care, but yeah, driving on the wrong side of the road and then also having a gearbox on the wrong side, it would probably confuse my brain and make me more likely to get into an accident, so I'd rather just drive an automatic if I was in Australia. Thanks, though nostalgic.
In this video series, specifically is my opinion based on my own investigative work. Now, references to scams or fraud, counterfeits or lies, and related terms should not be taken as definitive findings of fact or legal conclusions. I've used publicly available information on and off the record interviews and independent analysis to draw strongly on any person in my to issue. You can tell a lot about someone simply by the company that they keep. And Adil Khan isn't only comfortable carrying on with former drug traffickers, but also a who's who of biohackers.
Hey guys, I'm here in Mexico with Dr. Adil Khan.
So Chris, we treated your shoulder in February in Mexico.
Celebrities like the Kardashians.
Why did Kim and Khloe Kardashian come to us for stem cell treatment?
And even Chris Hemsworth. And of course, whatever Tony Robbins is.
You know, some people say to me, why Dr. Khan? And I'd say, well...
Okay, I have to cut in here for a second because this guy, Tony Robbins, has just been appointed by Dr. Oz underneath RFK Jr. to advise on reforming and reshaping American healthcare policy. And this is really, really crazy because he has no idea what he's doing. He has no medical background and... Why do we let the clowns drive the car? In the regrettable world of our collective social media Sharknado, credibility often rests on popularity and whatever the algorithm wants to throw in our direction. The constant celebrity endorsements of Khan's clinic lends him an air of trustworthiness that makes it easy to overlook his actual credentials. But it doesn't take long to see that Khan's medical background is wanting. According to his LinkedIn profile, he graduated from medical school at the University of Ottawa in 2015 and finished his residency in sports medicine 2 years later. Now, one of his first jobs was slinging online weight loss solutions while also freelancing at a clinic where he provided spinal shots for pain management. Then he moonlit as the chief medical officer for a company that uses shock waves to help relieve erectile dysfunction called onmen.ca. Incidentally, when I tried to go to that website just now, it actually redirects to a porn site. Anyway, he also took a role formulating supplements for weightlifters at a company called HD Muscle. Now, I know what you're thinking. Supplements, erectile dysfunction, pain shots. This sounds like exactly the resume you would expect to coincide with someone on the forefront of a scientific and medical revolution. Someone who heightens the already high standards we hold to people in the field of regenerative medicine.
Fun fact! There are no requirements in the field of regenerative medicine.
Oh, yeah, okay, but surely something as cutting edge as stem cell therapy requires some advanced training, right?
Yeah, no, it's just a marketing term.
But he has a medical license?
Excuse me. No, yeah, thank you. No, you can go a little further. Here we go. According to the College of Physicians and Surgeons in Ontario, he let his registration expire last year, meaning that he is not able to practice medicine there despite owning a clinic in Toronto. His LinkedIn profile says the Ontario Medical Association certified him in sports medicine, except when we checked it out, It turned out that they don't even issue sports medicine certifications. Not only that, but the College of Family Physicians of Canada told us over email that they never issued him a certificate.
Sure, but maybe.
So this guy is a fake doctor? Michael $20, the U.S. currently gives more military aid to Egypt than to Ukraine. Why? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. Ukraine received $200 billion in aid. I'd need to see the numbers from Egypt. I don't know what figures you're talking about. Thanks, Michael.
These are just like administrative errors. I mean, he's a licensed doctor, right?
Yeah, that's not really clear. He doesn't come up on any US databases, and we couldn't access the databases in Abu Dhabi and Mexico.
All right, but he's qualified to play a doctor on TV.
Maybe on TikTok?
Ooh. Okay, so licensed or not, it's clear that Adil Khan...
So he might not actually be like a doctor and he's lying about his credentials.
...is brilliant at marketing. After he worked his way up through supplement slinging and erectile dysfunction clinics, he was ready to make the leap over to selling the dream of regenerative medicine and stem cell solutions. He branded his practice Eterna Health before he had any brick-and-mortar offices. In order to see patients who found him on Instagram, though, he had to book office spaces at existing clinics and appeared at wellness events around the world, treating patients and then moving on to the next location after a few days. One patient, who I'm going to keep anonymous, told me that he traveled to Khan's clinic in 2023 after a seizure left him with a painful condition which caused part of his spine to degenerate. After a friend sent him Adil Khan's Instagram profile, he raised money for a stem cell injection on GoFundMe. Khan demanded half the $16,000 fee up front, and my source sent him a check and then booked a ticket to Cabo. Now, he was excited to get this state-of-the-art treatment, but the clinic, well, it didn't look like what he expected. This was a picture that he took from the outside. Jeez. But he'd come this far. He put his reservations aside.
That looks like a fucking shack.
And went
it looks like a taco place.
In for prep. And though they had been very keen to take his money, when he actually met Khan before the procedure, it wasn't clear to my source at all that Khan was even familiar with his case.
And I remember as I was, in the gurney or, being wheeled in, I had a chance to speak to him. And I reiterated, because the communication was so poor prior to the procedure, that L5S1 is where I got the surgery, but due to the, I didn't hear back from you in the past little while. I wanted to confirm that this is what we're doing, or this is where the pain is. And he goes, oh yeah. And on the fly, right before I went in for the procedure, he changed the protocol. Instead of injecting the L5S1 area, he went ahead and injected directly in the cauda equina region, where my nerve damage was.
That's right. Khan appeared confused about what he was supposed to do and then decided on the fly to inject the entirely wrong region of his patient's spine. Khan predicted that his patient would be on the next flight home and said that he had an 80% chance of full recovery. But my source said that the procedure only made his condition worse.
And it was very painful, and basically it worsened my situation. It was already pretty bad.
Michael, $0 is being appropriated to Ukraine by the U.S. in both 2025-2026. Meanwhile, Egypt has appropriated $1.3 billion, both years military aid. Okay. The U.S. gives military aid to plenty of different countries. They also give military aid to Lebanon. Trump has also delayed and reversed aid appropriated to Ukraine from years prior. Yeah, there could be a number of reasons for that. There's some evidence that there's some corruption scheme in Egypt that because of the presidential election, Egypt might have basically wired him money for his campaign. Some evidence that Putin may have dirt on him, which is why he's being pretty friendly with Russia for a while. Who knows? Thanks, Michael.
But I didn't think it could get worse, but it did.
While the patient would ultimately have to spend a month bedridden in Cabo before he felt well enough to get on a plane, Khan was already long gone the next day. Here is what Khan posted on Instagram just a few hours after that procedure was done.
Just finished our last day here in Los Cabos. I'll be going to Miami this weekend and doing some work there and hopefully getting this clinic finalized so we can start getting this project going, and hopefully it'll be done by the end of this year. And I'll be in Europe, most likely in October. And then we're going to be doing a trip to New York City in October as well. And then we'll be in Dubai and Egypt in November. And then we will be in Los Cabos again in December. So a lot of people are asking where I'm going to be and what type of treatments they can get. So Check out our website, eternal.health, for updates as well.
Unable to reach Khan for any sort of follow-up, my source said he had to find a local doctor to prescribe him antibiotics, and those antibiotics probably saved his life. And this seemed to be a pattern for Khan's early years as a stem cell supplier, always on the move and always one step ahead of anyone who would be able to hold him to account for complications. But his social media fame was only growing. Soon, famous people started falling into his orbit. Here he is describing how he soon started attracting interest from some of the wealthiest men in the world.
The first time I went to Dubai was to treat this man named Mohammed Alibar. He's a
Michael, yeah, it's great and all that we give aid to many countries, but Ukraine is the one where 20 civilians are being murdered every night by Russian missiles because Trump refuses to give them interceptors like Patriots and appropriate $0 in new aids. The Patriot missile system, I know some of that had to do with basically supply issues, like making enough Patriots and them also needing them being used in other areas. Trump also has an issue with basically being the sole supplier of aid to Ukraine. Europe was dragging its feet like crazy. So, yeah, now Europe, since it's on their fucking continent, they should be fitting most of the bill anyway. But thanks, Michael.
the owner of the Burj Khalifa and Emaar property. So he owns the 6 tallest buildings in the world, and he's the wealthiest man in Dubai, business-wise.
Shortly after that treatment, Khan opened up his first full-time stem cell clinic based out of Dubai. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that this was in part funded by an investment by Alabar himself. That clip I showed you, it's from a podcast by Sean Stevenson. The podcast is called Model Health Show. And if I'm correctly decoding the interconnected web of Manosphere podcasts, then Stevenson is also the host of the Mind Pump Show, where Khan has also been a guest. And this is where it gets crazy, because one of the 2 other co-hosts over there is Adam Schafer, whose own stem cell journey with Khan sounds a lot like what happened to Mark Hyman from my first episode. Here he is talking about how his wife almost died from sepsis after she got a treatment from Khan.
So she went out there to do, I wouldn't say a routine, but a pretty, somewhat basic stem cell treatment, right? So she was doing it for her ovaries, for fertility. And, flew in the top surgeon in the world from Dubai to come do it. So she's in good hands. She's with Dr. Khan and all them. And so the best of the best is taking care of her.
Schafer bought into the social media hype around Khan that he helped create. He was under the impression that he had sent his wife to one of the most reputable stem cell doctors in the world. After all, Khan had been on his show. What better recommendation is there than that?
So I called Dr. Khan. I'm like, hey, something's wrong with Katrina. She doesn't sound right. And he's like, yeah, well, it's kind of normal, this and that. There's an immune response, 24 to 48 hours. I said, yeah, I don't think so. I said, I want a nurse with her. I said, so whatever it costs, whatever it takes, get a nurse over with her. I want someone staying by her side and at least measuring and checking her vitals until we can get her home to me or whatever. And he said, okay, no problem. We get that done. So they sent a nurse over there.
Just like with other cases that I've documented, Khan did not seem concerned about his patients getting sicker after treatment and more or less shrugged it off. Schafer again.
I have some of the most brilliant doctors that are friends of ours now at being able to text them. And so I'm texting everybody, sitting in labs, explaining to me what's going on, this and that. And they're going, she's going sepsis.
Oh.
So, and for the audience to understand, that's like when bacteria gets into your bloodstream, and that's like life or death.
Oh, that's a 100% medical emergency.
Over the course of that episode, Schafer explains that the doctors in Mexico were eventually able to stabilize his wife enough that they could hop a flight back to the United States. And they thought she was okay, but then she relapsed again and was treated at a state-of-the-art hospital before she eventually recovered.
Scariest week of my life, hands down.
Now, interestingly, Schafer never connected the dots that his own wife's complications could have possibly been the result of malpractice. I reached out to the Mind Pump team for comment, but they never responded. In fact, Khan is still welcome in the Mind Pump media ecosystem. My guess here is that they are either unaware of exactly how many cases are coming out of his clinic, or so overwhelmed with confirmation bias and the chance that treatments that they have recommended on their channel could be hurting members of their audience that follow their advice, that they choose to ignore the evidence right in front of them, even when it gets the people who are closest to them sick. The same might also be true for the actor and director, Justin Baldoni. Now, before I began reporting on this piece, I had never actually heard of Baldoni before, but apparently he's a bit of a heartthrob and had recently gotten into litigation with Blake Lively, and people are passionate about that story. I mean, he also sued the New York Times for defamation. Regardless of all of that, he's a well-known connoisseur of regenerative medicine because of chronic back pain. Here he is in 2020 in Colombia getting a stem cell injection while singing charmingly into his phone to his child, and then posting it on social media.
I love you, a bushel and a peck.
A bushel and a peck. Oh, I feel it.
So right after he got that injection, he gushed in his social media post about how he could feel the new life energy from the stem cells entering into his body.
There's a powerful energy in these stem cells, man. This is new life.
He felt like he was on the road to recovery, but apparently it didn't stick. He was still, just a few years later, looking for some way to fix his degenerated discs. So a couple of years later, he took to social media to find a new doctor and ended up on Khan's door.
You know what's funny? Usually people who are complaining about back pain with degenerative discs, the reason they have back pain has nothing to do with arthritic changes to their spine. It's literally just in their head. They're imagining it. And going through like psychotherapy would work better than any other kind of fucking treatment. And it's either that or they just have a weak back and they need to lift. It's really fucking hilarious how people think like, oh, my spine is just like a couple millimeters thinner than it used to be when I was younger. That must be why I have back pain. These arthritic changes do not in any way explain back pain.
Doorstep.
So about 9 months ago, I reached out to Dr. Khan, who is at the forefront of stem cell technology. I have some damage to the cartilage and meniscus in both knees. He injected both my knees with stem cell. He also gave me an injection in my shoulder because I had some arthritis in my shoulder. And I just wasn't sure what the results would be because like everyone else, you see this stuff on social media and you're just not sure what's real and what's not.
That joint is arthritic and it's inflamed. So we're going to inject stem cells in there to calm down the inflammation and to prevent the arthritis from getting worse and obviously repair some of the damage that's been done. We also combine them with peptides, which enhance everything. Making sure we're putting in the right spot is also a big deal.
On August 28th, 2024, Khan's clinic put out a press release that they were officially treating Baldoni's back. And you're going to be shocked by this. I know.
Do you think Son is really racist against black people?
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what black people care about. Oh, black people care about this. Black people care about that. Like, shut the fuck up. That's not how politics works. Oh, well, Hassan, how dare you? Like it or not, black people care about this issue. It's like, it's such a fucking stupid stance. Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language in this fucking chat? Suck my fucking cock. Yes, dude. It's because I'm racist. That's why. It's because I'm racist.
He's racist to the extent that he uses somebody's race as like a tool. But yeah, I wouldn't say he's like a supremacist. I wouldn't say he thinks black people are inferior in some way. But thanks, Dodo.
It wasn't long until Baldoni was in the hospital recovering from an infection. I reached out to Baldoni's team to ask him about complications, but a representative from his PR crew said that he didn't hold anything against Khan and that he believed that the infection had to do with bad energy from his litigation with Lively, which is of course interesting because bad energy is not known to be a cause of bacterial infections.
We don't have a better explanation for his neurological symptoms at the moment other than spiritual attacks.
Ghosts.
Now, again, I have no interest in celebrity infighting, and I know people have strong emotions about it, but the discovery published in the court case actually revealed interesting chatter about the infection. One document states, and I'll quote, rather than truthfully acknowledge why the entire cast refused to promote the film with the director or launching an investigation, Abel, Baldoni, and Heath brainstormed possible cover stories, including a recent hospitalization to treat an infection from spinal stem cell treatment in Mexico. And that stem cell infection comes up again in the text messages between his crisis PR team. Stephanie Jones.
He said he got stem cells in Cabo, so that's probably why he has an infection now. Jesus.
Jennifer Abel.
Yep.
Stephanie Jones.
Idiot.
Jennifer Abel.
You don't get stem cells in Mexico.
Stephanie Jones.
Who goes to Mexico for this?
Jennifer Abel.
And then agrees to post about it so that he gets it for free.
Matthew Mitchell.
Yeah. When it's free for him, we know that. He does the sketchiest shit to his body and says that his outside reaction is due to stress. No, baby boy. It's because you got...
Well, isn't he Arab or Muslim supremacist? So by definition, he is somewhat racist in that sense. Well, yeah, he is. Thanks, Dodo.
A janky-ass procedure from a strange-ass doctor in Mexico. You get what you paid for.
Obviously, he's no longer working with that PR team. However, the point they raise is quite important. One reason that Khan works with celebrities is so that he can put out press releases that use their names, which ultimately brings in more ordinary patients into his practice. It's all top-of-the-funnel lead generation. It's why so many celebrities who have had him on their podcasts also show up in his various videos getting stem cell treatments.
Hey guys, I'm here in Mexico with Dr. Adil Khan. I'm about to do VEGF gene therapy.
I mean, I think we can assume that a lot of this is done quid pro quo with no actual money exchanged.
These people are so fucking weird. Like, they're already millionaires and they give a fuck about getting some dumb therapy for free in Mexico? Like, they're genuinely fucking deranged.
After all, this is sort of an unspoken rule of celebrity economics. While I was the first person to report publicly how Mark Hyman got sepsis from...
Did you argue with Pat, or why are you acting like a bitch today? No. Just tired.
Treatments he received
Thanks,
from Khan's Eterna Health Clinic. Basically, all of the top influencers and longevity scientists already knew what had happened. They just decided to keep it secret. For instance, who do you think Andrew Huberman is talking about in this clip from last month in a conversation he was having with Gwyneth Paltrow?
And there's a very public-facing physician who paralyzed himself with a stem cell injection into his spine recently.
Oh, no.
Don't get stem cells injected into the discs, I was told, because the discs can't receive stem cells.
Oh, boy.
But he went to a clinic, he was paralyzed.
I don't understand the point of keeping all of this under wraps. If all of these health influencers knew about the dangers and potentially deadly outcomes, they could have put their energy into actually warning their audiences about this clinic, which was a known danger. I mean, it's kind of stunning that 3 of Khan's celebrity clients actually came down with serious bacterial infections that led to hospitalizations. I mean, if Khan can't step up his safety protocols for people with immense power and fame, then I shudder to think what his complication rate is with ordinary people who just come to his clinic. This is, of course, a question that is almost impossible to answer. Khan moves across international borders with ease, and no regulatory authority has the logistical ability to keep track of the complications that originate in his clinics. The only people who actually know what is going on inside Eterna Health are the employees who receive the complaints, and very few of them are talking. I mean, I know because I asked. This is a very similar problem that I ran across while reporting my book, The Red Market, on the trail of the world's organ brokers, bone thieves, blood farmers, and child traffickers, where I quite literally traveled all across the planet tracking criminal actors who bought and sold human body parts. Now, organ traffickers benefit from the ability to split their crimes across national borders and easily run circles around law enforcement. I called it the red market because, unlike traditional black and white markets, moving biological materials raises additional ethical questions about where human-derived materials come from and where they end up in clinical treatments. Now, at the end of the book, I suggested that the only way to break apart red markets is to introduce radical transparency into all legal human tissue pipelines, because the criminals are almost always able to hide behind a facade of medical privacy. For instance, if you want to know if the kidney you received from a transplant is legal, then it would be nice to be able to legally track it down to its source. Instead, they say, oh no, we can't do that because it harms patient privacy, and thereby often giving the cover story to actual criminals who are stealing human body parts. Stem cells are, of course, also human-derived materials. They often come from the umbilical cords of newly born children. And if they're being sourced criminally, then there are potential victims at the beginning and the end of that supply chain. So let's get into that part. Well, it seems that Khan's
that would kind of make sense why he's doing this in Mexico.
Clinic has a high rate of complications, at least if you happen to be a celebrity. We don't quite know how those complications originate. I mean, as I see it, there are 3 potential vectors that explain how things got so far off the rails. The first is that Khan, maybe he has just no idea how to properly sterilize his operating room. I mean, for instance, in this clip of a stem cell procedure that he was performing on a 77-year-old fitness influencer with the handle Train with Joan, you can see him grinding a needle into her bone.
See, now I'm anchored, I'm just going slowly into the bone.
One commenter who described themselves as an RN saw this photo and then asked why there was no protective bib around the injection site, saying that it's not sterile. That could be true in some cases, and I've asked various doctors if a bib is really required, and I've gotten conflicting answers. Some say yes, and some say no. But it could be an indication that he failed to do other sterilization procedures too, like preparing the area with an antibacterial solution like iodine. Others have views that perhaps non-sterile water that they used to clean their various equipment was used. And there's no way, of course, to be sure, but my gut, in the heart of my hearts, I actually don't think that this is where the bacteria is getting in. Sterilization is very well taught across the world, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and think that he hopefully got this part right. It's very basic, which means that the second possibility is that there is a problem in the way that Khan actually stores his stem cells. And I've spoken with 4 different doctors who handle stem cells regularly, and they all agree that storage is much trickier than you might expect. To paraphrase one doctor who asked me not to use his name, the stem cells were probably stored in a liquid nitrogen tank, and we tell everybody all the time you can't store cryovials in the liquid nitrogen phase of a liquid nitrogen tank. It has to be stored in the gas space because they leak. The liquid nitrogen can get in, and they are almost always contaminated by E. coli or some other bacteria. Now, I had no clue that there was a real difference between the liquid in the liquid nitrogen and the gas above, so that's not like immediately intuitive, at least to me, a non-doctor. Considering Khan's habit, though, of constant traveling, there are lots of potential opportunities for storage procedures to fail to meet up to the highest safety standards, especially if he's actually traveling with those stem cells. Even a small error can create an environment that allows bacterial proliferation. And who knows, maybe he's got a frozen package of stem cells in his carry-on or checked luggage. The third possibility, however, is one that I find perhaps the most likely of all. Maybe the stem cells he is actually using don't come from legitimate sources in the first place. In fact, it's an issue that he often talks about on his various podcast appearances. Here he is with Gary Lineman, aka the Human Garage, about how his success is built built upon the superiority of his product.
Most people know about it because of the Kardashians and Chris Hemsworth. Like, I treated them and they talked about it publicly, so that reached hundreds of millions of people. But the problem is the margins on using mu cells is much lower because they're expensive. Like, for me, they're expensive to just purchase from the manufacturer. Right. So these are what are called Dazawa mu cells, which is from the Japanese scientists who discovered them and the company that owns the patent.
For that name, it is really important. Mari Dazawa's Muse stem cells are the current Cadillac of the stem cell industry. Now, I did an interview last week with Matt Kabeline, a longevity scientist, talking about how they might be the breakthrough that everyone has been looking for.
Muse stands for multilineage differentiating stress enduring mesenchymal stem cells. So that's where the Muse comes from. It's a breakthrough from a biological perspective because this was kind of the first indication that mesenchymal stem cells are actually a whole bunch of different types of stem cells, and you could get these very specific Muse stem cells from this mixed population, and they have interesting properties.
I pressed Kabeline here on whether those properties really matched the marketing hype.
So to answer your question, promising but very, very early. And again, my intuition is this will be sort of a step breakthrough, but it's not, again, going to get us to the point where everybody's getting stem cell therapies to get younger. Like, it's not going to have that large of an effect. But I do think that these Muse stem cells will have specific indications where probably 10 years from now, you'll start to see them be routinely used in different clinics.
So essentially, they're still experimental, but potentially promising. Even so, as Khan notes, there is a limitation to using them.
We work directly with that scientist to get these cells, but they are pricey. And so your margins aren't going to be as high as using the old stem cells where way cheaper. So people, unfortunately, for them, they're just like, we're making good money. We don't care,
Which is to say that a doctor could save money if they didn't want to pay the full freight of $5,000 per officially certified vial of Dazawa stem cells.
And then a lot of consumers just don't know. They're just going in, they're thinking they're getting stem cells, they're going to make their body younger because the doctor's telling them that, but it's all, unfortunately, it's all a lie.
That's right, Adil Khan, who, if you think about it, whose name sounds a lot like Ideal Khan, said,
unfortunately, it's all a lie.
Khan is indicating that he is in fact aware of the enormous black market for counterfeit stem cells. After all, if the open market is generally unregulated, and if you don't actually need any special certifications to call yourself a stem cell specialist, and the customers don't really know the difference anyway, then why couldn't you just sell the idea of miracle-inducing stem cells and then just put whatever you want into the patient? Most people, they would never know. Even Mr. Garage has no idea what stem cells actually look like. Now, in the reel that Khan posted to his Instagram, you can see Lynham and Khan admiring this frozen vial of, well, what exactly? I mean, it looks like something between a horse suppository and the worst popsicle you ever tasted. And the message on the screen suggests that they are, in fact, stem cells. And later in the video, Khan talks about how important official Dazawa cells are. Lineman is shown then, right afterwards, getting a decidedly brownish IV. Now, I think any reasonable observer would assume that the brown popsicle is somehow related to the treatment they are both promoting. So I reached out to Mari Dazawa's company in Japan to see if these look like something that her lab would produce. Her chief medical officer, Dominic Duscher, wrote back almost immediately. It was in an email, but here is an appropriately Germanic-sounding voiceover.
This is certainly not a licensed MCI product. Our Dazawa Muse cell products are sold by the labs in 2R/3R vials and all have clear labeling/counterfeit protection. MCI DMC have never been sold or stored in tubes comparable to what the nurse is holding, so we can guarantee that this is not from MCI-related manufacturing pipeline.
Which means that if Khan told Lynham that these were Dazawa cells, then they were counterfeits. The unmarked frozen package could be almost literally anything.
Why does it look so fucked up like that?
Tried to find out from one source I spoke with who works in the regenerative medicine field, and he says that maybe it was frozen umbilical cord blood, the upstream raw material that Muse stem cells ultimately come from. One person who should know
that is fucked. That would explain the infections, though.
For sure, though, would be Gary Lynham himself. After all, he was the one getting the treatment. And I wrote to Lynham, and someone named Barb Wengerenruk, I'm probably mispronouncing that, wrote back. We invite you to reach out to the company with your questions and inquire about the liquid contained in the vial, which is a really just crazy response. You would think that Lynham would have at least some idea about what he was getting injected with and posting on these reels. I mean, but then again, maybe he just didn't care. His channel is predictably a bastion of health misinformation and conspiracy theories that seems to go hand in hand with his own criminal record for drug trafficking. Now, I should probably do a video specifically on him at some point because he is a whole thing. Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, of course, I did reach out to Khan's clinic several times, and I will go over their responses at the end of this video. First, though, I want to note that since I dropped my first video, I got several messages from Khan's patients who were skeptical of the provenance of his injections. One doctor, and we're just going to call him Dr. Eric, took his father to the Khan's clinic in Dubai. This was the email that he wrote me. During the consult, Dr. Khan assured me that they use Muse cells that were manufactured under the process developed by Professor Dazawa and licensed by her company. When I got my father there for treatment, we asked to see the certificate of analysis, and after asking a few times, he produced a document that certainly did not look like an authentic C of A. The vial containing Muse cells also had no stickers verifying it was authentic Muse cells. Between that and some rumors we heard around Khan's lack of follow-up care, it made us abandon the treatment. I have to give this guy credit where it's due. Most people would not have the nerve to turn away from a treatment that they flew across the world to get at the last second, like Dr. Eric did. Heck, most people would not even know that they could check for a certificate of authenticity. If the counterfeit hypothesis holds, then Khan might buy some official Dezawa Muse cells through official channels, but also keep a supply of cheaper alternatives on hand in case he runs out of the good stuff. Which brings us to the broader black market for stem cells. And this part really blew my mind because there are a lot of shady actors in this business. In August 2024, John, and I'm going to mess his name up, Koloshorin, pled guilty to charges of manufacturing and distributing so-called stem cell products under the brand name Regen, which led to 11 patients being hospitalized for E. coli in Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Now, according to the press release by the DOJ, this defendant recklessly put people's lives in danger, giving false hope to patients with serious illness. But just as that operation wound down, other stem cell charlatans popped up. For example, the FDA wrote a letter to Beeben Russell, who operates a stem cell supply company called Platinum Biologics, which, among other things, this letter stated that this letter is to advise you that your products are unapproved new drugs in violation of Section 505A of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And look, there have been no criminal charges filed in that case so far, but if you look at the Instagram presence of their team, you're going to see Beeben and the other founders posing like they are extras in an Andrew Tate reality show, bragging about their expensive sports cars, flying in private jets, while also posting how much they care about quality control. Now, hilariously, in those videos, they also complained about how much they had to spend on new testing equipment after the FDA started looking into them.
In this industry, most biologics companies hide behind the curtain. They hide behind reports, they hide behind language, they hide behind trust they haven't earned. And doctors are left like Dorothy, told to follow the yellow brick road to outcomes without ever knowing who's actually pulling these levers. That's not transparency, that's theater. So we made a different choice. We invested in in-house testing equipment. It was expensive, it was uncomfortable, but it was necessary.
That's a lot of transparency marketing speak. But I have to ask you, would you trust this man with your life? But we can do better than just pointing to a very scammy looking internet presence and actually look at lab reports that they sent out to clients in 2025 that were supposed to certify the sterility of their supply chain, because they raise serious doubts about what is going into their cells and how they're actually testing them. This, for instance, is an example of a stem cell sterility report sent out in 2025, but the test clearly shows that they were performed in 2020. To state the obvious here, stem cells are not meant to stay on ice for 5 years, and it's entirely more likely that they're using this certificate for a newer batch that they're just sending out to clients. It is noteworthy that the quote ordering professional section clearly looks like a bad Photoshop cut and paste job. And this is the sort of bureaucratic error that I came across repeatedly while tracking down organ trafficking networks. Hospitals and traffickers were more than happy to forge medical documents so that regulators and curious investigators would just trust the quote face validity of the paperwork. I mean, even bad attempts at forgery were often enough to get past regulators. Of course, I can't say for sure that Platinum Biologics is a criminal enterprise. Determinations like that are ultimately left to the court to decide, but it seems likely that an investigation is, well, probably underway. Without getting into specific suppliers or distributors, an insider at one regenerative medicine clinic that I spoke with was happy to tell me that the going rate for an off-brand Muse stem cell package, one that claims to have the same efficacy of the official Dezawa brand, is just $500. That's 1/10 of what the official lab sells it for, which brings me to the largest problem of all. Stem cells are an experimental therapy that people seek out after they have tried usually every other modality out there. Despite the marketing, the reality is that stem cell science is still in its early days, with very few human clinical trials that show robust results. It could be that in the future, stem cell products like the Muse cells really will be breakthroughs. But we have to remember that the history of the pharmaceutical business is littered with the corpses of promising drugs that never went anywhere. In an ideal world, people will know that experimental treatments are inherently risky. And when they seek them out, they knowingly take that risk before they start treatment. It's what physicians call informed consent. And you can do this ethically, but the risks get magnified when prospective patients are also in the dark as to whether they're even getting a genuine treatment in the first place. The broader situation is so concerning that I can't honestly recommend that anyone, anywhere, put their trust into regenerative medicine at all. I can't suggest that you should even consider getting stem cells because we simply don't have the regulatory infrastructure in place to ensure that the treatment you ask for is the one that you get. This is the problem with black markets. It's like on-brand Louis Vuitton handbags and off-brand ones, except if you get the off-brand one, you really have no idea where it was made. Maybe it was mixed in a cement mixer for all you know. I'm certain, though, that some clinics, well, they do them right. There are clinics out there that don't cut corners, and their doctors really believe in the treatments, and they do their best to give you a sterile environment with the best possible stem cells out there. The problem is, I just don't know how a patient would identify such a clinic from the outside.
Yeah, Code
And this
Zombies
is even
sucks.
more troubling because Adil Khan has announced a partnership with a chain of health clinics across the state of Florida with a company called Relive Health.
I know a lot of people have been asking about Florida. We are hoping to be up and running by May. I know there's been so many delays. It's just because the USA made Muse cells have been difficult to make, and we cannot import them in, and they have to be made in the US, and this is the first time this is happening. So as soon as that's ready, which should be hopefully in the next month or two, then we're going to launch a clinic.
He's able to do this because Florida recently introduced a new regulatory standard that made it easier to try experimental treatments so long as patients waive liability for unexpected outcomes. And my main question, though, is how he intends to get over the shortage of stem cells. What procedures are in place to stop complications from going? And is Khan even licensed to practice medicine in the United States? I couldn't find any evidence at all of that. maybe Khan would be willing to show me his certificates.
Yeah, that is sus.
All right, it's been 3 months of like hard reporting, and I just want to recap over a couple things because there's several things that I haven't told you yet, and the reason for that is, like, in the course of talking to probably about 20 different people, about 10 of my sources were off the record or on background, which means that I can't tell you exactly who they were. Sometimes I can't even mention that the interview even existed. But I talked to a lot of people. And in my main official reporting, you can verify every source against the public record. I've usually included links to where things came from. I've shown you emails, or I've blurred out faces of people who agreed to go on that way. The information I'm going to tell you here, you just sort of got to trust me that I had these conversations with real people. But I feel like it's really important to tell you why I came to some conclusions, because not everything necessarily is going to be apparent to you when watching the video, and why I feel so strongly about, for instance, Mark Hyman getting sick. I had that confirmed by 5 different people before I made my case on how his podcasts didn't quite line up with what the record actually was. Now, the other thing is like within Adil Khan's business, one thing that came up in 2 different interviews from 2 different sources was the name of the bacteria that infected Mark Hyman's body. Now, you would think that with a septic infection, you would get something like an E. coli bacteria or a streptococcus, which lives on the skin sort of out there in general. But in fact, it wasn't that. It was this gram-negative bacteria that it was called Ralston, I believe. I'll put how it's spelled down below. And this bacteria is really interesting because it's endemic basically only to Mexico, which means that the contamination which entered into Mark Hyman's spine eventually came through either like contaminated tap water or perhaps upstream from the development of these Muse or otherwise stem cells that were created in maybe counterfeit labs around Mexico. We don't know for sure, but the interesting thing is that this is a very weird bacteria, and 2 different sources confirm that for me. Now, another story told to me about the contamination was that a nurse, and I was told that it was actually Kimball Musk's, registered nurse who was actually sort of moonlighting at Eternal Health in Mexico, saw a Mexican nurse or doctor tampering directly with the batches of stem cells that were in sort of cryo-freeze, siphoning them off, probably to maybe sell them elsewhere on the black market or do something with them. And when one of my sources said that they confronted Adil Khan about that, he said, "Oh yeah, well, I know about it. I'll take care of it." And this was crazy. Rather than replacing the batch that had been opened and sort of like monkeyed with by some random person, the Adil Khan actually just used it on other people, other patients the next day, possibly introducing more contamination. And this was one of the reasons why one of my sources left the employment at Eternal Health and started their own thing. And then multiple sources from different people in the industry said they suspected that Adil Khan was breeding Muse stem cells on his own in his own facilities. And one of the things they said is that when you start breeding cells, specifically Muse stem cells, you only get a certain number of generations before they lose their potency and they become more susceptible to tampering. Obviously, if you're pulling cells out and putting them back in, there's just more opportunity to introduce problems. And they said that this was happening at his Dubai lab, which actually coheres with that weird vial that we saw that they were purportedly saying were Muse stem cells. And there's one more thing. In 2023 or 2024, one source told me that 10 patients went to Eternal Health for brain problems. They wanted stem cells injected into their brain. And out of the 10 people who went to see Adil Khan, who had this injection, and he personally injected brain stem cells, out of those 10 of them were hospitalized, and several had debilitating strokes that they will never recover from. In another instance, a person had kidney failure, and they'll be on dialysis for the rest of their life.
Why would you?
The other patient that I do have direct knowledge of was referred to the same south of the border clinic by a doctor who's a longtime friend of mine. My doctor friend told me that the infection destroyed his patient's kidneys, and this guy's going to be on kidney dialysis the rest of his life. I do not have direct contact with the alleged other 20 or so infections from that same clinic. That part is hearsay, but only once removed. So, the truth will come to light.
Now, these medical records, of course, I was not able to independently verify. This is just the thing that I heard from someone who I do know was definitely connected with Adil Khan. But these are the stories that are out there, which honestly, these should concern everyone, because these should be looked at by the police, not by an investigative journalist who has no subpoena powers, no ability to...
Who the fuck... So... I don't know who the fuck would think it's a good idea to inject stem cells into your brain, but the fact that, like, allegedly this guy who claims to be a doctor is doing that for people and, like, killing them, that's crazy.
Examine these medical records. These are things that should be looked at by the police in Mexico, these by the regulatory authorities, and anyone working with Adil Khan elsewhere. And I think they're very, very concerning. Although, again, we're going to put this caveat that these are sources that told me this stuff on background and off the record that you cannot independently verify, which is, as an investigative journalist, I wish more people had the courage to step up, because once I started putting out these reports, everyone wanted to talk to me. I mean, I got so many emails from so many different people, but not a lot of people had the courage to do the right thing. I think courage is a really, really important part of being an honest citizen, because the people, if you know something that happened, at one of these clinics of some sort of malpractice that is literally putting people in like dire shape and maybe getting them killed, I think you have a duty to come out and do something and not just save your own hide and pretend it didn't happen. But that's just me. Okay, well, there's just one more thing to say in this video, and that's what happened when I actually talked to Adil Khan. So let's get into that bit. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did reach out to Khan and Eterna Health multiple times over the course of reporting this series. Now, at first, Khan agreed to an interview, but after several weeks of gaslighting me, I decided that it probably wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, don't go to Mexico for dental work. Don't go to Mexico for literally anything. A good country to go for dental work would be like Thailand. Again, it's a much safer, cleaner country. And you still get pretty big discounts with some of that dental stuff. So, like, I've known people who've had to get, like, caps put all over their teeth, and, like, here in Canada or in the States, it costs, like, $30,000, but in Thailand, it's, like, $5,000. So, yeah, go to Thailand. Go to Thailand for something like that, not fucking Mexico.
And so I asked them directly over email about complications that I'd been investigating with Mark Hyman and Jordan Peterson. Now, I'm guessing that by that time they knew what I was researching. Rather than respond directly, they eventually put me over to their legal team, a lawyer named David Mikhail, who has offices in Colorado and Puerto Rico. In one email, he wrote, "We are not able to provide specifics about patients, but I can unequivocally state that Dr. Khan has not ever performed spinal stem cell injection treatments for these patients. I am concerned about the veracity of your sources for this information, but at this time, we do deny the allegations." I was quite confused by that statement, because how can you unequivocally state that Adil Khan has not ever performed spinal cell injections when both Khan and Hyman posted Instagram videos stating that is exactly what they did?
So Mark Hyman has severe spinal canal stenosis, severe facet arthritis. We had to use a combination of our engineered Muse stem cells and also Muse exosomes. We injected them epidurally using catheters. We also injected them into the facet joints.
I mean, it seemed like he was unequivocally lying to me in the face of direct evidence. And I wrote him as much, and he wrote back just a few minutes later. "First of all, Mr. Carney, we owe you no obligation to respond or comment, but have provided you the courtesy of a response. Second, the PR you're referring to does not concede that Dr. Khan personally did stem cell injections on either patient. The
personally.
pronoun used by Dr. Khan was not in the first person." All right, now when a lawyer decides that the best defense against misrepresentations is to start picking apart pronouns and sentence structure, you know that something is amiss. He is likely suggesting that the shot that got Mark Hyman sick was performed at Eterna Health, but not specifically by Khan himself, which seems to me at least immaterial when Khan is the founder and the face and the CEO of Eterna Health and is ultimately responsible for what happens at his company. This sort of lawyerly obfuscation made me think that it was probably not worth talking to Khan's team again.
Yeah, Turkey's pretty fucked. You can't use foreign currency in Turkey. You're gonna have to use like Bitcoin and shit. It's really weird. Turkey is based when it comes to steroids. You can just buy steroids there. It's pretty cool.
I don't like being lied to. I don't like being led astray. However, since I am sure that Khan is going to watch this video, I would be glad to extend Adil Khan an invitation to come on my show and chat directly with me about the things I brought up in this series. I mean, maybe this was all a misunderstanding. Dr. Khan, I'll be standing by. Until then, that's my report on the dark side of the stem cell clinic to the stars. Okay, so that's the meat of the video series. Thank you so much for getting through it. And at this point, you must be wondering how it all shook out. After the third video in the series dropped, all hell broke loose in the stem cell circles all across the world. I got a few veiled legal threats from Adil Khan's legal team, as well as the legal team from the folks behind Platinum Biologics, but nothing serious ever materialized. This is probably because I've been told by confidential informants that I learned that the video kicked off a whole string of criminal investigations in the United Kingdom, the UAE, and Canada. Dozens of people contacted me about whether their own personal experiences with Khan giving them various sorts of bad treatment.
That's funny.
Could be grounds for their own personal lawsuits. And several celebrities and people who treated celebrities while working at Khan's clinic confided in me about what happened. So there is a lot happening behind the scenes. Unfortunately, the wheels of justice and legal cases go forward slowly, and actual criminal charges could take months from now or even years to finally come to fruition. Lawsuits have the same barrier to entry. And frankly, I just don't know what will happen, except to say that I'll be covering it when
this guy probably is like a full-on fucking crazy criminal.
Does. So far, there's nothing that I can announce officially about what justice, if any, will befall Khan. What I can say is that he doesn't seem to have any trouble getting more clients through his Instagram account, which remains as active as ever. So I guess I just need to say that stay tuned to this channel and I will post updates when I know more. And as a bonus, as the final video in the series, one that I didn't even announce at the beginning of this series, I will post you the legal threats that I got from Michaela Peterson, because they were just so beautiful. It's a short video. It's like, I don't know, it's like 12 minutes or something like that. But, you know, you can see how very angry she got. And it makes me wonder if perhaps Jordan Peterson's real problem is actually something akin to Munchausen's by proxy. This is Jordan Peterson, and this is his daughter, Michaela. A few days ago, Michaela mentioned me in a video about her father's declining health.
I don't even want to mention this really because I don't want to give it any attention, but some journalist online reached out to me trying to pin dad's symptoms on stem cell treatments, which is so dumb it's hard to fathom. And I responded, which was stupid.
It seems to me that Michaela did not watch my report. If she had, she would know that I was investigating Peterson's relationship and promotion of Adil Khan's deadly stem cell clinic to the stars, but that I concluded based on my conversation with her that Khan was not the immediate cause of her father's deteriorating condition. According to Michaela, whatever complications arose are most likely not directly related to Khan's expanding network of high-end celebrity clinics. But what stands out here is that the Petersons are still incredibly devoted to the speculative and experimental treatment pathways. Instead, over the course of that series, I provided evidence that Khan was, in fact, getting many celebrities sick, even giving Kim Kardashian fake stem cells.
It is a discontinued product. It's not from us. It has never been from MCI.
While also hospitalizing Justin Baldoni.
That's funny. Like, yeah, this guy's going to jail. Like, there's literal video evidence of this guy using counterfeit stem cells and fucking over celebrities.
And Mark Hyman.
Because I almost died.
Michaela, however, did not seem concerned with that. Instead, she was reacting to my reporting by attempting to slander my reputation, and for that matter, the reputation of everyone in the journalism profession.
And I responded, which was stupid. You should just never respond to a journalist.
And look, I wasn't going to respond to this, even when people started flooding in my comment sections with making her father sicker. See if you can catch where her own description of her father's treatment protocols start to go off the rails.
Dad had stem cell IVs over the years a couple times to see if they can help with neurological pins and needles and pain and like sensitivities and things. And I had mentioned in one of my videos that last summer in June, he had a stem cell IV from a specialist. This is a specialist I don't know. He was like hooked up with him from one of his friends, a great specialist, but it's not someone I'm connected to. He stayed in a moldy hotel for that treatment, and that brought back symptoms. It wasn't the stem cell IV. He's had hordes of them.
What the fuck?
And trying to link the stem cell IV in June to sepsis from pneumonia in October is insane.
That's right. She's admitting that her father was seeking out stem cell treatments that were recommended to him and her by one of her friends, which she actually told me in an email was Tony Robbins, and that while seeking those stem cell treatments, his symptoms came back. But rather than attribute...
It's funny how all these scammers know each other and then they scam each other. Like, it's just so hilarious. Tony Robbins gets scammed by Adil Khan. Tony Robbins recommends the scam to Jordan. Jordan gets scammed by Adil Khan. Like, oh my God.
The worsening of his condition to the medical intervention that he was actually taking. She instead blamed it on mold in his hotel room at the same time. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think that she's lying. I think she really believes what she's saying. And that is even more terrifying than just a simple grift. Because this is a special kind of clinical blindness that I feel is endemic in the wide world of wellness. No matter what information, ultimately from celebrity recommendations, not
manifests as a neurological injury.
Or vaguely defined relationships between mold and mitochondria.
Overwhelmed with a sense of impending doom that was stronger than anything you can naturally feel. And I know
she ends her long explanation of how to fix big pharma and chronic illness with an announcement of a new website called Prescribed Harm, as well as a research foundation which for some reason is registered in Wyoming while she lives in Arizona, which is called the Fuller Research Foundation. These sites link to various taper clinics and ketogenic diet resources that could well have a financial relationship with the Petersons. The sites are a repository for her to collect anecdotes from her audience that support her conclusions that spread the same slurry of fear that she promotes across her channel, with no systematic analysis of any of it. And yet, when you zoom out...
These people are just complete cancer. Really shows you everyone's just a fucking retarded chimpanzee. If you can fool and scam this many people, like, everyone's actually a fucking chimp. Just beyond stupid. Alright, it is late. I am going to go to bed. Plan tomorrow is to train back and biceps, so we're probably going to stream that in the morning. And then, you know, the usual stream later in the day. So that's the plan tomorrow. But big thanks